RantCast. Yeah. All right. I hope you can all hear me because it's time for the RantCast. It's Thursday night and we are live on Twitch. And I am joined by a couple of guests. Unfortunately, TheStrangeBus can't join us tonight. In fact, we're going to be talking about that a little bit here soon. But he wanted me to let you all know that he has taken a brief hiatus from streaming. Just generally speaking, he's got some personal stuff that he's got to do, and it should be good. But don't expect him to come back until maybe mid-June, is what he's thinking. So we'll soldier on without him, of course, but we wish him well. And we have guests tonight. We've got Ribby,
Good
and
evening.
and we've got Nightbird, aka iKarith. He's the strong silent type. I think you might be muted there. You guys don't have to yell out rantcast if you don't want to, but if you do,
I was leaving it to you.
all right, all right. That's why I make the big bucks. Not really, but iKarith, can you hear me? I think. Yep.
Blink twice for maybe.
Yeah. We're live. Welcome, guys. Let's just do a quick sound check here. iKarith, if you could say something or other. Say something or other. Say something or other. Say something. Okay, well, I don't hear him yet. Um, that's all right. We'll get you on it here in a second. But yeah, so this is episode 38 already. It's hard to believe. But we're talking today about GenCon, and I should say there is another gaming convention actually coming up before this one, ModenaPlay in Italy, which will be on the 16th. I think it's the 16th through the 18th. Let's get our screen up here. First, we will douse the flames because the real flames will be coming. Actually, we have good things to talk about today, I think. So it shouldn't be as maybe as rancorous as it sometimes is, unless that comes up.
I see Nightbird. I just don't hear him yet.
Okay.
Looks like he's working on it.
Okay, good. Yeah, and since we are streaming this from Discord, if you join us in the HeroQuest fans Discord voice channel Quest Talk, you can actually join us on the RantCast. It's a little less, it's a little more loose, a little less family friendly than our usual stream. That's the RantCast, so your discretion is advised. Um,
Can I
but
be heard now?
yes, yes, you can.
I had to change things to push to talk because voice activity was not voice activitying.
Okay. Do you want your likeness on the screen, good sir? Because if you like, I can put up video. I don't have my face, but it's up to you.
No, the thing that is annoying, and if anybody knows how to fix this, I'm on mobile at the moment,
Yes.
and the controls to actually, push to talk and anything else disappear after like a second, and then you have to like tap and wait for it to come back. I hate you, Discord, so much.
That's not cool. Yeah, several of our members have phones and they have to deal with the same issue. Like I've had to change things specifically because of that. Like on an iPhone, I guess there's icons on the right hand side, and so that's where I was putting all my like hit points on HeroQuest fans, and I had to move it to the other side so that it wasn't like covered up by those icons. All right. Well, we've got our two guests. StrangeBus will not be here. As I was saying, he is going on a bit of a hiatus, so we'll expect him back mid-June.
Um,
But I mean, it's nothing bad. But I'm just not going to say a whole lot about it unless he chooses to reveal it. But yeah, he will be
I'm
back.
playing with audio still.
What's that?
I said I am playing with audio still. I
Oh,
think I've got it auto. I had to play with the sensitivity.
yep. You know what, guys? Let's just cancel our topics and let's just like talk about how much we hate the Discord snafus. I'm just kidding.
It is the RantCast.
Ah!
All topics are valid to a man with a grievance.
Yep. 2 opinions enter, 3 opinions leave. Yep, that's right. Well,
Well,
and
wish you the best, TheStrangeBus.
yep, we sure do. And he is the heart and soul of the Rantcast, and I really feel that this show would
Also
not
the
exist
spleen, the
without him.
liver, several other major organs.
Yes. Yep. So we do this segment called the HeroQuest Power Hour. Well, when he's not here, it tends to be that's pretty much the whole topic. I haven't really seen any new stuff on the horizon with SuQuest. I think we're just still kind of waiting to see what happens with that. Um, I'm thinking we should focus on what we're seeing coming up here in the month of May. So we've got ModenaPlay, Italy, which at least one of our members is going to be there. Not Bohemius, not Axion, but another guy that Axion knows is going to be there. So I'm sure there will be
Cool.
presentations. Then, of course, August 1st through the 4th, we have GenCon, and several of our members are going to be there. I will be there. Ribby, I think you said you were going to be there.
I will be there. Yep.
Yep, with bells on. And Ash from AshQuest, Amalgam Ash, he's going to be there. I think he's going to be dressed as a pirate, though, so we might not recognize him, but if we do run across him, we'll be sure to say hi. A few other
I'll always
people.
recognize the world's greatest hand model. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Just have to like close your eyes and just listen for someone to say "Brave Adventurers." It's like that's the guy right there. Get him! No, just kidding. But no, it would be cool to meet some of these folks that we've talked to only online, and hey, even better, catch a game together. But we'll see. I mean, um, there's so much that we can talk about. But yeah, let's kind of get to it, and I definitely want to solicit your guys' opinions on stuff. But first, before we talk about conventions, in the world of HeroQuest news, the companion app has been updated to version 3. I feel like I'm an advertisement every time I say that. But it's going to be supported at least through December 30th, 2026. But version 3.0 added Against the Ogre Horde. It didn't quite add all the features from Against the Ogre Horde, though, but it has all the 10 quests, and it has the wolf companion, animal companion, if you have less than 4 heroes. You can play
Oh,
as the
that's nice.
druid, but it doesn't have the new, like, druid cards, but, I mean, the mechanics are the same. And you can't play the extra arenas, but you can play the first 3 arenas at least. And I guess they have random items, so there could be some replay value there. Of course, the whole point of the companion app is for people who either don't want to play as Zargon or they, claim they have no friends and they just want to play solo or whatever. And so you can play the official quests more or less complete. I mean,
From what I've heard too, they did a really good job with the arena mode on the update. I have not looked at it myself.
I just barely touched on it. I mean, it is like everything else, it's on the honor system. So if you're not paying attention to whose turn it is, I mean, it might be super easy because you're moving all of your guys and the other guy doesn't get to do anything until, you're done. But yeah, you're supposed to trade off. You activate someone, they activate someone, back and forth, back and forth. So the bad guys are going to tend to have a lot more turns because they tend to have more characters. But in the arena mode, I did notice you can have 3 heroes plus a wolf plus a ogre mercenary if you want. Which, if anybody didn't know, it's like in Carmine's philosophy of, if it doesn't say you can't, then you can. Although some things the app makes the decision for you.
Well, that's the thing, is that the app does not really have the ability to adapt to anything that isn't built in, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
they didn't actually envision it, the app doesn't let you do it.
Yeah. It's really interesting because on the one hand, I see the companion app as being like for people who are new to the game and really don't know how to play it. But actually, it's more like people who know the game so well, but they just happen to want the Zargon functions to be done by somebody else at the moment. Because yeah, you definitely get these ambiguous situations where you're like, wait a minute, what's supposed to happen? And so if you have a group of players that are controlling heroes, you just decide amongst yourselves, oh yeah, this should happen, and then you just make it happen on the screen because you've got to roll for the monsters. But I mean, sometimes there's just situations where it's like, should I be dead or not? Like I don't know. How does this card actually work? Let's just make a decision. So it's an interesting kind of like Zargon now becomes you and me. It's there's just the Zargon inside all of us, which I guess is kind of a scary and cool thought. Yeah, but more
Yeah,
options. And
everyone.
several people have commented on, well, but what happens when Hasbro one day decides to stop supporting the app and then you can't download it anymore and it's not supported on phones and mobile devices anymore? Then what? Well, there are emulators out there like BlueStacks that you can use to play for free on your PC. Pretty well, I think. That's how I do it because I don't have a smartphone. Um, Although I might get one for the convention, we'll see, like a burner. But the other thing is, I was being told that you can download, and iKarith, here's where I could use your expertise, the proper terminology, the APK of an app that you can download.
That would be basically downloading the program itself.
Okay, so
An
that
APK is like an exe on Windows.
okay. Now, is that the one that has all the data? Because I also understand that when you download the app, you don't actually have all the expansions. You just have Kellar's Keep in the game system. You have to actually download the other ones within the app. So is there another file that has all that other data as well? Did you?
It is possible that that other things will get downloaded besides. I mean, generally speaking, on Android, an APK is. I said it's like the exe. It's actually more like the zip file that a program comes in.
Okay.
It's just an installable zip file that might not have all the expansions. If they decided not to include them and it connects to a server, if it does that, oh boy, if it does that, then somebody's going to need to back that stuff up. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I mean, you said they're going to support it until,
2026, December 30th.
2026, something like that. Yeah. Um, Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the app, so
Well,
I
I.
I appreciate the
Mhm.
work behind it, but at the same time, as you said before, the app allows the things that it allows, and it doesn't allow the rules that most of us play by because
Yep.
most of us have tweaked the rules. It doesn't even have the common variants, and
Yeah.
it seems like the app is kind of hard to keep up to date.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I think this stems back to the way the app was originally developed. The app was developed for the Pulse campaign that
Yep.
was never, at the time it was written, it was never intended to come to retail. And now it has a thing that programmers call technical debt. There are things that were done a certain way based on the assumption that it was going to be one and done with the two original expansions that were available worldwide and the special ones in the Mythic box. That was all it was going to be. That was all it was going to have, and it was never intended to have anything more than that. It was just supposed to be for the people who backed the Pulse campaign. And then they decided to bring it to retail because they underestimated the demand. And they realized suddenly there's demand for all the expansions. And with the demand for all these expansions, now you've got to update the app. Now you've got to, add these things, and it's hard to go back and nobody's going to pay these developers what it was going to take them to basically rewrite the app for all these random expansions. Nobody's going to pay them to do that. That means that the app does things the way it does them. That's a hard thing as a programmer to deal with. You just have to, you do what you can with what you got. That's why I think updates are a little slow in coming, and they have some limits and some bugs that, wasn't designed to do these things. So just because of that, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm glad that they are updating it because, or at least they're going to support it that long. I hope if they ever decide they're not going to support it, they will make it so that it won't expire. It's like if we're not going to do anything else to it, we're going to leave it so it still works at least. I don't know if they will do that. It would be nice. But honestly, with the way things have shaken up at the company, I don't think we can count on that. I don't think we can count on it because when management at the company, at Hasbro, decide that they're done with HeroQuest, they will be done with HeroQuest.
Sadly,
it's good that they're committed to it for a while at least. I hope they do more with it, but at this point we've got almost all of the Mythic stuff has come out. The last of the original things to come out is we're still hoping for Wizards of Zargon. It sounds like they're going to do. Yeah. It sounds like they're going to do something with a second box based on rumors.
Yeah.
Don't know what that is. The First Light. I hope that is taking us back to Neath Island. That'll be cool. I will be interested in that. It might be something else entirely. I'm hopeful for those things. I don't know what will happen after that. At that point, it will be all new stuff. I hope it'll be good stuff. But it's possible that it might not be any stuff. And I will be happy with the result if we get just, the stuff that we were hoping would come out and the stuff that, the stuff that we know about. If we don't get any more after that, I will say my shelf is full of tons of HeroQuest stuff. I hope it stays around, but I don't know if it will. So I'm trying to temper my expectations a little bit because as much as it was easy to be excited about things coming forward, when we had people like Chris in charge over there. Whoever's in charge now, I don't even know who's in charge. And not only do I not know who's in charge, I don't know what they're doing, if anything.
Don't ask Finn who's in charge.
They're not telling us anything, and that could mean anything or nothing. So I'm trying not to be too excited about things that I hope they're going to do, other than finishing up. I would like to see a Wizards of Morcar, Wizards of Zargon. Neath Island stuff would be really cool. Whatever First Light is, I guess we'll find out what it is when we find out. Beyond that, it's hard. It's hard to even speculate. So.
Oh yeah, but we'll do it anyway.
I'm sorry to sound like that's what we're good at.
Yep. I'm
sorry to be a bit I realize I'm probably sounding a little depressing about this, but
well,
I don't want to get I don't want to get too excited and then be massively disappointed when whatever I could have hoped for doesn't happen. I mean, we have no idea if it's going to if First Light is going to be Neef Island or something new. We can't know.
So,
Frustrating.
but see, iKarith, you're saying a lot of the things that I believe and I've been saying as well. I get a lot of pushback though from people who it's funny because I mean I say what I think on these types of shows, but at the same time, like as a reporter, I feel like I should be asking tough questions to the designers when they're available. Some people don't like that I do that. They feel like I'm taking up their time. Although I just look at it as if they've got time to respond, they will, and if they don't, they won't.
Well,
Like they're
and
grown
that is
ups
fair.
with
I mean,
schedules and everything. And yeah,
um,
with Chris and Bill
a big
gone,
part of
it has quieted down a little bit in the sense that yeah, occasionally we get Doug Hopkins, Wandering Monster on Avalon Hill Discord. He'll respond to stuff and he'll usually just say, I'll pass that along to the guys who are doing it or the department, which is cool. He wouldn't have to do that. He wouldn't have to say anything at all. But the very fact that he
and
does
shout,
that
shout
tells me
to
that
Doug
it's
for doing that. Yes.
yeah. The
Yeah.
very fact that he does that, like I don't think anyone should look at me or any other fan as somehow we're like little dictators who can like grab, you know, the reins at Hasbro and make them do things. It's like, no, but we can ask, we can
We can
comment,
have.
and if they respond, hey, that's cool. Like, why should only people on X or Instagram get responses? So I think it's great that they do that. So if someone's going to come back at me and say that the bad guy for doing that, fine, whatever. But they don't have to respond to me. They could block me for
Well, see,
all they want to do.
I don't get the time to hang around in
Hmm.
that Discord the way I used to. So, I mean, people can complain about me all they want. I don't really give a crap.
Yeah. Well, I've got my own Discord to run, so I'm not there as much as maybe I would otherwise. And they have a nice
I
little
did
community, but it's yeah.
I did try, and I mean, there are probably people who are going to be a little mad at me for it. I was trying to keep the Discord back in December from becoming sheer chaos without anybody there even looking at it. I mean, I've seen Discords that have no moderators. It's best when the moderators, in my
Oh,
opinion,
right, right.
have a
Yeah,
light touch, but when the moderators don't exist,
yeah.
holy shit.
Well, and I just want to say some people probably think of me as a rabble rouser that I've started, drama there. I'm not trying to do that. There've been a couple people that have come after me saying, I'm being too, and it's not about me,
You,
okay? I
you've done it a time or two without necessarily intending to.
yeah,
Just
I'm
some
a
people.
I'm an insensitive man. I'm a jerk. Yeah, but I do want to say this. Part of I see my role in the HeroQuest community, not just HeroQuest fans, but just in general, is I'm going to ask the things that I'm interested in, and learning about, but I'm also going to like give voice to things that I've been hearing, like other people saying. So sometimes I'll ask stuff that maybe I don't really care that much about, but I know other people do. And that's not me saying it's devil's advocate. Like if somebody says something that I consider absolutely utterly stupid, that there's zero chance. Like I'm not gonna pretend that I believe that. Like, oh yeah. But like with the whole like, oh, is HeroQuest, gonna be scaled back? Is HeroQuest gonna be canceled? Like lots of people were saying that online. Lots of people before I said anything about it. So when I was like asking about that, that wasn't it wasn't intended to be me saying I believe that HeroQuest is going to be canceled soon and it's all going to be gone. It's like maybe I should have phrased it more like, hey, a lot of people are concerned about this. What can you tell us to, calm us down about that?
Right.
But it ended up looking like, oh, I'm the one telling everybody that that's happening, and people will just believe me. And it's like, no, I didn't mean that.
Fans tend to
So,
fall into a couple of categories broadly.
mm,
You've got people who are just kind of, just they're there, but they don't contribute a whole lot. They're there,
Lurking.
and I mean, a lot of people, want to say that they are the silent majority that are with them. They're probably not with any of the other people. They're there because they enjoy it and they want to see what's going on if there's anything to see.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to say, "Oh, I represent those people who aren't speaking up."
Yeah.
Probably not. You've got people who want to appease, make no waves, don't say anything negative. You can't. They're the ones who are likely to be screaming, "Don't look at the purple elephant."
Don't harsh my buzz, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're going down the road of describing so many communities that are online. I mean,
exactly.
it's almost
I'm basically I'm not describing the HeroQuest community. I'm
yeah,
describing fandom in general.
fandom in
And
general. Yeah, and we are a small fandom.
You've got those two groups. You've also got the people who are very excited for things that may or may not actually happen. They're the ones who are very hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the curmudgeons.
Yep.
And then you've got the people who want to step forward and basically they are. Did you ever see the movie Over the Hedge when it came out like ages and ages ago?
No, I didn't.
They are the clipboard wielding HOA president. They are the ones who are measuring your grass and saying it is 3/4 of an inch and it is only allowed to be a maximum of 1/2 inch. You are 1/4 of an inch over. You are getting fined.
Are you talking about like the rules lawyers?
Not just rules lawyers, but they're the people who basically want power in a community.
Oh.
And I mean, they have no authority, but they assign themselves authority.
Okay. Well, I hope I'm not that guy.
You're not. You're the hopeful one.
Okay.
For the most part, you do come on a little strong sometimes, and people misunderstand you, and it creates drama that you didn't intend.
Yeah.
But
I admit it.
there was one person that we were seriously wondering if that, and I'm not going to name them for two reasons. One, I don't remember, and two,
We need him on the
I
show.
don't want anybody giving them shit over it.
No.
But there was somebody who stepped forward, and I seriously wondered if, like, they were hired by Hasbro because they were stepping up and they were like, they were basically trying to enforce server rules. They were speaking as if they were speaking as an authority figure without. I mean, people had previously said when I had more time to do this stuff that I was kind of considered to be somewhat of an authority. So are you, just because we know things and we figure out things and we keep close to it. But I always made a point of saying whenever I said anything, I don't have any special knowledge. There is one time only, that Chris told me something kind of in confidence, and he later on told everybody. I mean, like a day later.
That's cool.
Until he, and it was literally about the way his team was looking at. The fact is that Ye Olde Inn has a lot of content. It's basically copyright infringement. Straight up, it's copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm. I remember this. Yeah.
They don't care, and they are happy with it being where it is because it's non-commercial. If somebody had tried to commercialize it, that would be a problem because then it would be commercial copyright infringement. As long as it was us fans being fans, and we were posting stuff that was decades old that they weren't going to repost.
Yeah.
They had no problems whatsoever with what we were doing on that website. Chris told me as much directly. And he told me, we're not going to go after anything you're doing because you're trying to be very careful about our current IP. And
Hmm.
as long as that's the case, we're not coming after you. He later on told everybody that, but he told me that a couple of days beforehand, and he did so in a way that maybe he didn't intend for me to go and tell other people. Maybe he didn't care if I did or not. I told you about it,
Hmm.
and I told I told people who are actually running the inn because they need to know. And those are the only people I told, was basically people who were in positions of like, are we safe to do what we're doing? The answer was yes, and that is what I told them.
Cool. Yeah.
I was never privy to anything that was actually a secret. It was all just speculation, piecing together the clues, which we were all doing. It just turned out I happened to be right more often.
Yeah. See,
And
I thought you were the mole.
well, see, the thing about it was I was piecing together what he said, and I do have some knowledge about, and I have knowledge from other people who have talked about the insides of it, and I know some people who have done it,
Oh,
of
cool.
having things manufactured in China.
Oh yeah.
I know how long it takes to ship things from China. I know it takes so many months to do this kind of thing. And I mean, so that was why I was able to say, if they started on this date, we're not going to see it until. Which is why I was able to say, if they started on, when they posted their "we screwed up" letter about the night,
The Guardian
I
Knight.
said
Yeah.
we're not going to see the Guardian Knight until sometime next year, about 10 to 12 months from now.
Rise of the
And we
Dreadnought.
did.
Yep.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the kind of thing that's really helpful because, yeah, you just have, I mean, I don't know the first thing about board games. Like, like, what is it? Yeah. So until you and Chris and, yeah, we hear that explanation, like, they're not having to, go through all the trade secrets of the industry, but just say, hey, here's the basic. This is kind of why it's like this, and this is what you can kind of expect. And so then that tempered our expectations.
I mean, it was really cool. Before the campaign actually started for the HeroScape stuff, they were posting, like drawings and whatnot, so you got some
Oh
idea
yeah,
of what they were working on. That was kind of advertising
I like
to try
that.
and hopefully build up excitement for it. Um, I can see why they're not doing that for HeroQuest, because it's hard to do that for HeroQuest. But like,
They've done some
if
token efforts towards that though. Remember Doug's blogs, you know,
yeah, but like
but it's
if
not
they
regular.
posted
Yeah.
no, and I mean if it's Doug doing what he can do when he's got time to do it.
Yep.
I mean that was the thing, that Bill and Chris were in the position of talking to the public.
Yeah.
Bill especially, because he was the social media
He was
coordinator.
assigned to, yeah, that was his whole thing. And it
His
was,
job was communicating with us.
yeah.
Chris did it because he was the one who was in the position to be able to say, this we can share, this we should not.
Yep. Yeah. And he
So I
revealed
mean,
himself pretty early as basically the
he
face
did.
of
He
Avalon
did.
Hill to us. And because we don't have someone like that now, it's kind of like you can't be mad at fans for like just throwing random questions out there because it's like, okay, who do we talk to? And then Doug stepped forward, identified himself. And when you were saying like the person acting like they were in charge, it's like, well, I would expect anybody who was in charge to just reveal themselves as such. I mean, they don't have to say, "Hey, I'm, this person on Avalon Hill's team," but they could say, "Hey, I'm a moderator. This is how it's going to be," or, whatever, or this is where official info is coming from. So, uh,
That would have been nice.
yeah,
And that was why I always made a point of saying, that's not me. That I don't
yeah.
work with them, I don't work for them,
Well,
and I
usually
don't know anything.
usually I've never had a problem with discords. I mean, usually I have to tell people that HeroQuest fans is my Discord. So like that's how little I throw my own weight around there, I guess. And it was only like on Yield In, like I posted so much, I would have to tell people, no, I'm not a moderator. I can't do anything about it. Like I don't know what you're talking about, you know. Um, or whatever. So yeah, it is what it is. But I want to get Ribby in here because I know we've been talking so much and you've been awfully quiet. So I know we're
That's
kind of
fine.
all over the place.
Yeah, I was having trouble keeping track of the conversation there, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Get yourself a nice glass of orc juice and we can have ourselves a good time.
Hmm.
So
What?
you've checked out HeroQuest.
Yeah. Thanks to Ribby and
Yeah, we
yourself and several other people who have recommended it. So yeah.
did a couple playthrough evenings,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was a good time.
Was it 3
I
hours?
And
have
3 hours for one
one
quest?
complaint about. I have one complaint about the game, just the one.
Not
The
enough
game
orcs.
is so big that it takes a very long time to set it up, and it requires a lot of space.
yes, it does. It's there's so many little chits and tokens and cards and everything. It absolutely is a monster and just eats up your whole table.
Yep.
I don't have a table big enough.
Yeah,
That's why
I don't either
I
technically.
let Ribby do most of the work
Yep.
with those little well, they weren't streams, they're recordings. But it was basically him just teaching me the game, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, there's definitely a lot of things to keep track of compared to HeroQuest, but um, it's doable.
Yeah. There's a bit of a yeah. There's a lot more mental overhead because you're keeping in mind like
Yeah, there's no
you know
Zargon to do it for you.
there's no Zaragon and there's like things like terrain matter in that game, whereas in HeroQuest, the terrain doesn't typically matter except for purposes of line of sight. Um, but in like OrQuest, it matters where they're standing because they might get bonuses to their defense or something like that. And
Right.
so you start to compound all that stuff, and it adds up pretty quickly in your head.
Yeah. Whereas HeroQuest, it's more like, okay, did I search all the rooms for secret doors or just some of them?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Orticon's
one
here.
thing that
Welcome, Orticon.
because Hasbro owns both properties, they own the D&D properties as well.
They don't own
The
OrcQuest. You're talking
notion
about D&D and
they don't
HeroQuest. Yeah, yeah, and HeroScape.
because they own D&D and HeroQuest. If they wanted to adapt, come up with some rules that would allow you to play HeroQuest without a Zargon, they own the D&D games, and those were based on 4th edition D&D, which
Oh, the
is the
D&D board
redheaded
games.
stepchild. Yes.
Okay.
Those work the lack of a dungeon master for those games works relatively well.
Hmm.
And it works relatively well because 4th edition D&D, which, it's the board games are a simplification of that. But because 4th edition D&D and the board games are, more about the combat is a little more formulaic, but that also applies to HeroQuest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because of that, they could mine their own. They could mine their own D&D rules for that, and start looking at how to put together a sort of GM-less system that didn't depend on the app. And I would kind of rather see that, honestly.
An app that
Biff
keeps getting updated.
Biff left the community some years ago, and I don't know if he wants anything talked about why he left. I know a little, but I don't know if he wants it discussed. But he had life came up.
Who is this person?
Biff.
Biff.
He had the other HeroQuest forum.
Oh.
And he also had, and I have a
Huh.
version of it, possibly not the final one that was produced, but I have a version of his
This is an old
dungeon
Scratch.
crawl rules. Yes, the old Scratch forum.
Oh, it is old Scratch.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I'm
yeah.
like, wait a minute, who? Who are you talking about? But yeah, because there was Dwayne Agan, which was Yield In, became Yield In, and
Yep.
then Old Scratch forum, which I was never part of, but I'd always heard about it. Because like every other mod, it's like, oh yeah, and this originally posted on Old Scratch or as seen on Old Scratch, informed by
Well,
so and
he
so.
had
Yeah.
he had, and I actually I bought this, so I have a pre-production version, and I don't know if I have the last version that was made of his dungeon crawl rules, which were basically it was basically an adaptation of HeroQuest's rules that you could play without a Zargon, and it worked with Zargon's actions are taken by the next player that is going to be there to take it. There are danger, there's a danger mechanic similar to your Zargon cards. If the players don't get a move on, the longer they take, the more they dawdle, the more stuff happens, and the monsters just do formulaic things. That messes with the idea that the monsters know what they're doing, and might retreat or regroup or basically run away.
Yeah.
To do something other, but generally speaking, that's not how most people play the game anyway. So
I'm offended by this whole conversation because Zargon is like a father to me, and I see myself as Zargon. So I've grown up playing the game that way, and it's so much fun to be the guy and to go against the guy.
Well, and you could play it that way. It was just
I'm kidding about the offense thing, but yeah, I mean,
if you
I like
have
I like those options.
if you
I like
have
those
the
options.
players,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, you play with Zargon cards, so there is a threat mechanic. There is something for you to do besides throw a couple of weak ass little monsters at players, 2 or 3 at a time, as they open one single door with the barbarian blocking it, so that the big baddies can't target the puny wizard.
Yeah.
So
well,
I mean that is a thing.
Well, what you're forgetting, and actually a lot of people don't mention a lot, is that Zargon actually has total power. He can do anything he wants. He's not constrained by things like rules and books. But yes, if you just read the booklet and you just follow the instructions. I mean, HeroQuest is meant to be simple, easy.
Sure.
Yeah, and some people, for them, that is a strength of the game. Is I don't have to manage a lot of things. I don't want to manage a lot. I don't want to do a lot of prep. And
there isn't much more added by dungeon crawl. So I don't know if I have the final version of the rules.
Yeah, I probably haven't seen this.
Way simpler than OrcQuest.
There's something on Yield in where it involves cards, and the cards like tell you how to orient the furniture and the rooms and stuff that are generated. And I saw like a couple on YouTube doing that. But it's probably totally different what you're describing.
With a random generator, yeah. Although I kind of like using a variant of, and I know you've got this, so you can actually look and see what I'm talking about. I like the idea of using Advanced HeroQuest as a generator.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't own Advanced HeroQuest, but I've seen the paperwork.
I thought you had a copy of Advanced HeroQuest.
Nope.
We need to get you one of them sometime.
Yeah, I've spent so much money on games. I mean, if I had the chance to own it for cheap, but I have looked at the rule book because I was curious about various things.
The rules for generating a dungeon are very simple. It's just heroes can move pretty far unless there are monsters on the board, which is a great rule for HeroQuest too, by the way. Just the basic HeroQuest game is it allows the players basically full 2d6 movement unless there's a monster on the board.
Yeah, the unthreatened movement rule.
Yep.
Yeah. It just makes things move a little faster, and because in Advanced HeroQuest you have the when you get to a corridor where or when you get to an intersection where it hasn't been developed yet, you have to stop and roll dice to determine where, what's next, or, if it's being randomly generated. The one thing is there is a roll for how long is a corridor when you get to an intersection, how long is the corridor when you turn. It can be 1, 2, or 3 sections long, and the sections are, like 10 spaces or something. 1, 2, or 3. I've modified that table in my own notes to be 1 or 2, just to keep the dungeon on the table. So I like you.
Another big
I
complaint
love
about
the
Advanced
room.
HeroQuest, just
Yeah.
that huge table sprawl.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do a lot to curb the sprawl. I think it was probably, I want to say it was Always Bored, Never Boring that suggested. It was him or Battling Barrow, Kevin, from Battling Barrow Games.
These are
One of the two of them,
YouTubers.
I cannot remember.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't either of them. And I cannot think of who it was, so I'm very sorry if you happen to be listening to this and it was actually your idea. There's another guy who did it on YouTube, played Advanced HeroQuest, and he described his rules for Advanced HeroQuest. He just changed the one table so there was less sprawl.
Yeah, you could probably find it pretty easily. There aren't that many videos on Advanced HeroQuest.
There are not that many. Yeah, it was not a real popular game, so there's not that many.
Well,
and I couldn't look it up.
And I've heard most of the negatives about it, so I kind of used that to placate my sour grapes of not being able to find the game at an affordable.
There are a lot of stuff on Ye Olde Inn for
Advanced HeroQuest.
People who have every expansion of HeroQuest that came out in the 90s, plus Warhammer Quest, plus Advanced HeroQuest.
Yeah.
To just combine them all, and it's like,
yep,
that's cool if you have them all.
If you can do it, sure, it's cool. But yeah,
but most of us don't have them all,
and most of us never will. I mean, unless we print it all out. But who wants to do that? Hey,
Terror in the Dark is $1,200 last time I checked.
Oh, that's a bargain compared to Mage of the Mirror Classic Edition. Or Mission Dreadnought for Space Crusade. Well, guys, this has been a great conversation, but I feel like I need to step in and move it forward just because I'm usually the guy that gets off topic, and this is great. With StrangeBus not being around, if you guys are available for future RantCasts, I hope you consider us.
Sure.
Let's move into talking about ModenaPlay or ModenaPlay. I do want to acknowledge the fact that I did once again forgot to configure the chat, so I have to switch JChat back and forth between HeroQuest fans and the RantCast podcast. So Jacer made some comments here earlier. He said pit traps matter, which is absolutely true. He also said 4th edition D&D did have move tactical board play rules, which goes along with what you were saying. Let's talk about
on the previous topic real quick.
Yeah, go for
it.
The
Dungeon Dive is the channel that talked about the Dungeon Dive.
The Dungeon
I did
Dive.
look it up.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many. So what I'm looking at right now is ModenaPlay, or play-modena.it. So this is an Italian gaming convention. And I just went right to the Avalon Hill page because I wanted to just kind of like use this to kind of further our conversation, because we're talking about predictions here. I mean, I've been gathering questions from people on my YouTube channel, XSC3, Home of HeroQuest Fans, in the community section, which a lot of people don't know exists. Like I can't always do a video. Amalgamash is a cool guy because his schedule allows him to do more videos. I do them on the weekends, so a lot of times in between, to kind of keep things going, I'll just like post stuff in the community section. So I posted a little poll and I've been gathering questions. I'm going to try to keep track of those because a lot of those may be answered in the next week or so. But let's take a look here. I know this is an Italian, but you can kind of figure it out. So we've got.
You have an English page. Play Modena IT-EN or /EN/. There is an English version. I don't know if the Avalon Hill stuff is in English.
Okay. Well, since I'm not sure how to do that, I'm gonna just go back.
Link.
Yeah. Unless you get it. Unless you get it. But yeah. So we've got a demonstration, a demo of HeroQuest for everyone, and so they're going to be doing that first of all. So we've got Spirit Queen's Torment clearly and Prophecy of Telor against the Ogre Horde. So they're going to be doing a demonstration right there. So nothing new there. Then they're going to be talking about Betrayal, Talisman. We've got another demonstration with this character named Angelo DiCello. I don't know who he is, but he's going to be doing a demo.
That name is familiar.
Angelo
I don't know
DiCello.
why.
Yeah, people have been talking about him. So, I mean, there's all kinds of like people in the board games community, artists, designers, just celebrity like people that are connected with it, gamers. So yeah, you may hear that name and go, aha, that's this guy. So go ahead and tell us if you know. Next, we've got a special session with Francesco.
You right click translate to English on that?
No.
No?
Sometimes when I load the page, it'll say translate, but it doesn't always do it for me. But yeah, they're doing it against the Ogre Horde there. Another demonstration. So we got Talisman, we've got Spirit Queen's Torment. We've got another Talisman against the Ogre Horde again. More against the Ogre Horde.
That's going to be there.
Master Andrea Rossi. Say that again?
Zeb Cook is going to be there. D&D fans know who he is.
Okay, I don't know who he is.
And Doug Hopkins is going to be there.
Yep, Doug Hopkins. We're getting there.
Zeb Cook did. I'm looking at. I'm trying to find the Avalon Hill page on the English website.
Dane's brother. I'm just kidding.
Zeb Cook wrote a couple of editions of D&D.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, no, nobody that anybody here would ever have heard of or care about.
As many of you know, I'm not a hardcore D&D guy. I mean, I was gifted a wonderful collection of 5th edition stuff from a good friend of mine this past Christmas. But I mean, yeah, I've played D&D only a couple of times, and I mean, I have to look. I'm basically I have Wikipedia knowledge of D&D. That's basically what I have. So. Doug Hopkins, yes, he will be there. This is a global.
Still looking for the Avalon Hill page.
Okay, so this is a global announcement. I'll post it in the chat here as well.
I am not looking at the right chat.
Okay, so it says global announcement HeroQuest. Doug Hopkins, game designer of Avalon Hill. David Neri, director of marketing at Hasbro Italy. And Andrea Rossi, Master of Masters. Something about quest sessions, reveal a global, legendary.
I've got it translated if you want me to read through it there.
Yeah, go for it.
Master of Masters will guide us through this global reveal session of the legendary board game HeroQuest. The announcement will be followed by a meet and greet with the international guests as well as a Q&A session. Applications will be selected from those received on the official Instagram profile, Hasbro Fan IT. I assume that means Italy.
Yep.
There will also be an opportunity to have Doug Hopkins sign your own copy of HeroQuest or Talisman card.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
If he's not at GenCon, I'm going to be really upset.
I was just thinking that. I was like, if he's going to this Italian thing, how could you not be at GenCon?
He knows that we'll come for him. No, just kidding. No, we don't. We know. I like the guy. I just want to meet him. Last year, Tess Hogan had his name badge, so she was Doug Hopkins that whole time. So as long as he gives his name badge to somebody interesting, if he's not going to be there, okay, fine. But yeah, we would like to meet the guy. He's our link back to everything else. I mean, yeah, and for those who don't know, Doug Hopkins, his name is on all of the free quests except for Nightfall and Rogar's Hall. And also, we know he is basically the guy who writes the rules and who has written a lot of the, um, the game mechanics that we see. So individual quests may be written by other people, but he's the one who puts together like the uh, the rules for like the
I,
new heroes and monsters and yeah.
I suspect that when the whole idea of bringing HeroQuest back for the 30th anniversary came up, I suspect it was probably Doug and Chris who were like, "Yes, let's do this." So there might have been a couple of others, but I'm sure the
Yeah,
two of them were
Patrick.
in on it.
Yeah,
Patrick, yes,
Patrick Rourke
Patrick.
and Bill Mort, Avalon Bill. He came in a little bit later than that. I There's some other people's names in there that I'm forgetting, but the team grew from just a few to quite a bit more. Now, I am
The
prepared.
chat you posted in was the Twitch chat, wasn't it? I'm an idiot.
I am prepared for the possibility that things will be different at the next Gen Con. Like they were very, very, very open about stuff. It might be a little formal, but we'll see. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure ModenaPlay will do its own thing. But yeah, that is cool, and thank you, Ribby, for reading that. So yeah, so we may learn some key things that may be the key event there at Modena. Then we've got another thing for, well, we've got Dr. Morgan. What more do you need? Dr. Morgan will be presenting against the Ogre Horde.
Morgan?
Now, if it was Captain Morgan, see, I don't know if he's retired. He's earned his doctorate now, so he's probably some like super famous guy, and it's like I've offended like tons of people, so I'm sorry. Kudos to the good doctor and all of his students. Okay, so D20 Nation is doing something with HeroQuest here. Another demonstration. Um, let's see. Another one with DiCello. Okay, the expansions of DiCello. Okay, so apparently DiCello is, I don't know if he's an artist or a writer, but that could be interesting. This presentation here.
Um, special HeroQuest game with the cello expansion written by. It just says special match at HeroQuest.
Unless this is a fan, like he created his own expansion. But this might
Yeah,
just mean like, oh, this is one that I worked on. Like, but why isn't it named? Is it
well, for the type of event, it is listed as tournament. So I don't know if that means it's a game.
maybe it's the arena mode? Like maybe he just created an
Yeah,
arena tournament.
could be.
That could be interesting. But yeah, we won't be a part of it. I mean, at best we'll have somebody there who will maybe give highlights, which would be cool. We want the leaks, we want the spoilers, we want like Dungeon Master wandering into the convention like before they've taken all the pictures down and he got a picture of it. That's the kind of stuff we want to see. You know, we want me and Inspector Retro like looking underneath the glass cabinet to see what the underside of the card says, and then Chris comes by and says, here, this is what it looks like. Here's your exclusive, maybe. Yeah. So anyway, so that's Modena. So we may get. I I suspect that they will be saving some big reveals for Gen Con, but they might give us something to chew on during this convention. And then that will generate new questions for the next one. So anyway, that's ModenaPlay. Let's go on to
I am hoping that they do put something out that is special for this
yeah.
con.
Every country gets
I
their
it'd be really cool if I mean yes, Gen Con is huge. Gen Con is international, but I mean yeah, these smaller national cons. I mean this is probably the probably one of the biggest gaming conventions in Italy. It would be my greatest regret for the 2021 HeroQuest is back in the 90s, this was a global game. It was released in something like 12 languages.
Yes. This is.
And now it's kind of in 4 or 5.
Yeah, 5. This is near and dear to my heart, this topic right here.
Yeah.
And if
So
I
would really like to see, if it's only going to be in 5 languages, I would like to see the countries that people speak those languages get something. I mean, I realize that they're going to give out the biggest news is going to be at GenCon because it's an international convention. But I hope they got something for these guys here in Italy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Italian, German, French, Spanish, and English.
I mean, at the very least, it looks like they're getting some demonstrations as in HeroQuest, but it looks like they're getting demonstrations from Doug Hopkins in the new Talisman. So I think that's the first time anyone's going to be seeing the new version of Talisman. So that'll be interesting.
Talisman fans, take note. Yeah, well, there was a rumor being floated or speculation from fans that maybe Talisman and HeroQuest were gonna merge, or that there was going to be like a Talisman edition of HeroQuest or something like that. But then it turned out we were just getting a new Talisman game. So I've never played it, but we've definitely got some fans of Talisman on the HeroQuest
Talisman
Discord.
It has fans.
Yep.
I mean, it's a different game.
Yeah, it predates
HeroQuest. It is kind of in the same vein as a lot. It's kind of in the same vein. It is a fantasy themed, but it's a different game.
Yep.
I will say if they announce HeroQuest: The Cybertron Wars, I'm done.
Oh man.
I'll be with you going right out the door.
Yep.
No.
He transforms from orc to semi to robot. Yeah.
Okay, if they're going to have an orc that transforms into a semi, I might stay for that.
See,
especially if they're
everybody's got a price. We're just talking about.
If we're also going to have
a mummy that turns into a plane. Think about it.
I mean,
And Zargon's got to do the Starscream voice. I mean, come on. This could be good.
If we can get Frank Welker to do Megatron somehow.
Stop interrupting my coronation. Yeah. Megatron, thank you. Here's a hint. Orc transforms into a green tank. Or no, Megatron transforms into a sword. Or a crossbow.
Ooh, there you go.
I mean, you can't have him transform into a pistol because they decided before the 80s was over with that was a really bad idea.
And yet toy guns are everywhere, yet Megatron. But anyway.
Yeah, but Megatron, that was a weird thing. It was because of the 2 toy lines that were used to create the Transformers.
Yeah, that blew my mind when I realized that my Transformers was not an original property. It was repurposed games that were merged together. So you had the gadget Transformers basically, and then the vehicle Transformers.
And the vehicles, yeah.
And they all. So you had the microscope, you had the camera, you had the pistol, you had the tape player. I'm forgetting what else. But yeah, then you had planes and trains and automobiles and tanks and things. Yep. And Shockwave turned into a space gun. Okay, so moving on from ModenaPlay, there are all kinds of conventions going on all the time, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them online. And it's true that some of them don't really have a heavy industry presence. It's more just fans getting together, playing some games, maybe selling their indie product that they made in their garage.
Is what makes those cons so much fun to go to.
Yeah.
Because they're totally not industry. I mean, you're not likely to see Hasbro go to these.
Yeah, they're not corporate.
You're not going to see. You're just going to see people showing up, having a good time playing some games.
Yeah, but it's
games that are a little more obscure, which is kind of cool because you might find something really really fun.
Yeah, and I I think early on when I heard about Gen Con, it didn't appeal to me because I thought, well, who cares? I can just play board games at home. But then COVID happened, and then people move away, and so then you start thinking, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to just like get a group of people together that are fired up to play a game together. Maybe it's a game you've never played, or maybe it's a game you've played before, but that's a fun
And
experience. It
nobody's
doesn't just have to
canceling when they
be
show up at Gen Con because
getting the scoop and
they're just
buying
there.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's speaking of Gen Con, let's move on to that one. So,
Okay.
let's see here. So I was looking at this. So tickets just became available, and again, none of this is sponsored. I'm not saying that this is the convention of all conventions, but I'm just looking at what I'm seeing here. So there is an event here, a free event. It's called Adventures Calling HeroQuest Fans. So right there's no way I can miss that. It's a seminar. Minimum audience of 50, maximum of 150, 13 and up. And Chris Tulak, or Tulak, probably butchering his name, but anyway, he is going to be the GM. It's not a tournament, but they will be talking about HeroQuest. So, Adventures Calling, HeroQuest fans, join us, brave heroes, for the official HeroQuest panel as we discuss the latest and greatest news with insiders. Ooh. So that'll be something to check out. So that's 1 hour on a Friday.
That'll be cool.
Yep. Now
It'll be with insiders, not with outsiders.
I'm sort of picturing that heavily scripted early panel discussion that they had during the HasLab campaign, where it was like they were kind of like awkwardly reading cue cards with this stuff. And I mean, now that I've met some of these people, it's like, okay, I get it. Not everybody is like a media personality. Like some of these people are, marketing gurus, or they're game designers. They're not necessarily going to be, putting on a performance, like a Joe Manganiello can do. So I'm hoping that with this, we actually get to ask questions and not just hear their canned presented, because I want to hear that stuff too. I want to hear the official corporate announcement. But I would like to get some more, I don't know, guerrilla reporting. But I'm kind of preparing myself for the fact that they're going to have limited time. They can screen the questions if they want to, if they have questions, Q&A at all. So the real discovery will probably happen later, assuming they're willing to answer questions. Because last year, I mean, I got an interview with, and it's not to brag, of course. I got an interview with Chris Nato. I talked with him twice. I got one with Patrick O'Rourke. I got one with Bill Mort, and I wish that I'd gotten one with Craig Van Ness. I didn't. I just kind of chatted with him informally. Tessa Hogan didn't want to do an official interview, so just chatted informally. There were a few other people that were just like, nah, it's like, okay. So we didn't really get very far. But if they have that same level of openness, it would be really cool, especially to get some more insight.
I get the people who are like, the design team who, first of all, don't know what. If you don't have like training in how to
Public relations.
approach something like, if you don't have PR training, you don't know what you should or shouldn't say. I totally respect the guys who are like, no, I can talk informally, but I can't do an interview, and I can't have anything I say get on the record.
Well, yeah, they gotta make sure that they're only saying the things that they are supposed to say as well.
Right.
And I kind of got that at Gen Con as well. I mean, you could tell that there was definitely a vetting process. So we're like, oh yeah, you want to do an interview? Why don't you come back later? It's like, well, why not right now? Because they're probably thinking, okay, what are we gonna say? What are we not gonna say? Or who's gonna do it?
Right. Or
They
can
go,
we
why
have your list of questions in advance and
yeah.
run that by somebody who can say you can answer this and this, but not this?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I in the past I've tried to. So when that interview with Stephen Baker happened, Like I wanted to do my own interview with him, but the questions I sent in were basically like gutted. They're just like, nope, he's not going to answer that. He's not going to answer that. He can't answer that. Not answer that right now. So it's like, oh shoot, well, there isn't much I can do now. But then thankfully, some other people were able to put together, something which ended up being really awesome. But you know,
Yeah,
I I
yeah.
like to I would like to get the exclusive, but in the end, I don't care. Like as long as somebody gets it, like I just want to make sure that yeah, we find out the information about these products ahead of time from
You'd rather get the information that excites the fans than
yes.
get the exclusive of being the one who got it.
Yeah. And plus because I know that there's other people who will get there before me who have been like hand selected or maybe have a bigger reach. So it makes sense that it's like okay, if they're going to give somebody an exclusive, they're going to give it to that person. Like
Yeah,
and
and I'm not exactly sure how this works with
the
these
fan.
events at Gen Con.
Oh yeah,
Like, I know
we'll talk about
there's
that.
limited seating, and so you can add this stuff to your wish list, and then I guess it's going to open up here in about 9 days to actually register for these events. And I don't know how fast these things are going to go out.
Fast,
Pretty
fast.
Yeah,
fast. Pretty fast. Yeah,
If you
and
want
and
it,
things
get
do
in there immediately and get the things that you want
yeah,
because if you don't, someone else will.
that's right.
yep.
And things do open up. There are no shows, but you can't always count on that. Like there was an event, there was a haunted walking tour of Indianapolis. Like I wanted to do that, but it was full. So friends of mine were in it, and they found an opening, and it's like, get in here now. So I was like, okay, I can do it. And I will say, I last year I signed up so late that I was not signed up for anything. Like I only had generic tickets, but in the end, I had like four that were unused, so I lost $8 that way. But yeah, a lot of
But
these.
you know
Go ahead,
the
go ahead.
fun thing about Gen Con, and I mean I've never been, but I've heard from people enough. The fun thing about something like Gen Con or Gary Con or any of these things, even if you are not signed up for a single game, there are pop-up games in the hallways.
Yes.
Uh, and I mean, like, last year at Gen Con, Kelsey Dion was there. And she was at Gary Con before that. She was not registered to, like, run an event. She was just in the hallway with, a couple of tables pulled up and her giant ass map that she made. And it's like, if you want to play and there's room at the table, pull up a chair.
That's cool.
And I mean that happens so much. And I mean it may not happen with HeroQuest because HeroQuest is a smaller game than something like D&D. But I mean, she brought her own game and played it her own way. The games happen. You don't necessarily need to be in the event.
Yeah.
And in fact, you might have more fun if you're not.
Let me
So
let me say. So out of the three of us, am I the only one who's been there before?
to Gen Con,
Yeah.
I've never been.
have
No,
you been, Ribby?
no.
Me either.
Okay. Let me tell you. Let me school you on this, because I've been there once. I'm an expert. So see this picture here. This is just one area of the Indianapolis Convention Center. So you've got all these vendors, and it's just crammed in.
Yeah.
And I, I was expecting the stinky gamers. I only noticed stinky gamers when we were getting our tickets, like the night before.
Oh no.
The rest of the time, people were showered, they were clean, cleaning
No
up
nose
and
plugs
stuff.
required.
Yeah, but it was hot. I mean, you could feel the body heat. It was like shoulder to
Oh
shoulder
sure.
as everybody
I've
was
been to
job duty for
conventions
their
in Chicago, like
dice.
C2E2 and stuff, and
See,
yeah, they get pretty crowded.
if you've been to anything
3, 2, 1.
like that,
If you're going to a con and you've never been before, remember 3, 2, 1. You need to have 3 hours of sleep. You need to have 2 meals in a day, and you need one shower every single day. Please, for the love of God.
yeah, they'll spread your plague to others. I was gonna say keep an eye on your wallet and yeah, don't
Yep.
start any fights. Don't step on
Front
any.
pocket.
Don't trample any kids or goblins. Yeah, there's a lot of people that okay, so you go there, but like this is not what it's all like. So there's a main hall that has like just imagine these halls mostly bare. Like you have a long distance to go between booths. So like the Avalon Hill booth would be like maybe over here, and the Warhammer would be over here, and this part would not be there. So there'd be like a gap. And then on the sides there'd be like all just lots and lots of 9 foot tables just lined up saying like, you can just here's a game. The game is just sitting there on the table, and you can just like maybe there's one person that'll take your generic ticket and you can just play the game. There's also people that are demoing the game for free. So you just sit there, they'll just show you how to play the game, and then, hey, do you want to buy it? And then you just move on. But it's like there's lots of that, and it's very brightly lit. So because everybody complained about the Dreadveil dice, the hard to find Dreadveil dice in that hall, it was so bright. It was like, a makeup counter at a store. Like everything is super bright. So you could see the dice pretty easily. But everywhere else, yeah, you'd be like, what? What did I roll? What did you roll? Let me look carefully at that under microscope. Then there's also an actual football stadium that you have to walk a ways to get to. You can either go out on the street and walk there, or you can go through like there's tunnels and stuff, walkways, skywalks, and all this, until you get there. But you go down into the stands and then down into the like where the football field would be, like the indoor stadium. And then they had tables set up where people were just playing like diplomacy and
A
like
gaming hall.
yeah, just tables, and you had to sign up, but some of the stuff was free, some of the stuff you had to pay for. There were tournaments going on, and then back inside the exhibit or the convention center, I should say, there were all these side rooms. So they had one for kids. It was just like a playground slash daycare for kids. There was one that was like way off to the side where they were doing LARPing. And I did that, and it was really fun. I was a monster. And yes, I had the beard and everything, but I had the monster stuff on top of it. So, but yeah, you got to fight people with foam swords. That was pretty fun. There's also like basically just hotel rooms. Well, not hotel rooms. What am I saying? Like meeting rooms. Like at a hotel, you have a meeting room. So they had lots of
Yeah.
those where,
Like conference hall type things.
yeah, small conference rooms. Like you'd go in, and let's say there'd be like 6 tables, and like each table would just be like a group of just regular players. And it's like, oh yeah, we're playing a game. You want to join us? They're playing Magic or they're playing whatever. And there was another area. It was an actual. It looked like a. See, I forget the terms for all these, but maybe like a ballroom or maybe like a presentation area where there's just like it's just a wide open space, and there's just lots of like standard 9 foot tables and chairs, and there'd just be like little signs where you could just like just write on the little table tent what game you're playing, and people can just walk in and just join you. So if we wanted to do a HeroQuest game or an OrcQuest game or a Space Crusade game, because I'm planning to bring Space Crusade,
Nice.
you could totally just
All three,
anywhere.
please.
you could do it, and we would probably want to coordinate something, Ribby and I and whoever else from the community that we happen to meet. The problem is our schedules may be totally different. I mean, I'm going to be there all 4 days, from
Same.
open to close.
I
Um,
wish I was going to be there just
oh man,
because I mean I would love to I'd love to sit down in an actual
we would love to
Space
have you.
Crusade game.
Yeah. And I mean,
I mean
iKarith and
I've
I,
looked.
we played a
You're
bunch
not
of
going to get there.
Zoom
You're
games.
not going to get a copy of that game for under $400 at this point. It looks like.
So I didn't buy any games when I was there. You could spend thousands easily if you wanted to.
Easily.
Oh God. Yeah, yeah, tens of thousands
And
easily.
I think the only questionable
And
thing that
that's
they
just
had was
one
you could
hammer.
you could get your picture taken with basically a lingerie model behind some curtains. But everything else was pretty like maybe rated T for teen. Everything was pretty much. I mean, you could buy like framed artwork from your favorite whatever art person. I didn't see any Les Edwards stuff. I'm sure I couldn't afford it even if they had. There's big like Space Marine statues that you can pose next to. You can buy dice, just buckets of dice, literally buckets of dice. I saw there was one display. It at first I thought it was candy dice, like the dice were actual candy that you could eat, but no, it was just every color. But it looked like a candy store. They had the scoops and everything, like you scoop up the ice cream or you scoop up the nuts or whatever and put it in the popcorn bag, but it was dice.
You
Nice.
need dice? Here, have a shovel.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, oh, you want a pound of dice? Only a pound? Like,
Just one?
yeah, and
Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I didn't
You
I
really
didn't buy
can't spend tens of
I didn't buy
thousands.
anything. I was looking for free stuff. I was looking for swag. And honestly, the Avalon Hill booth, I mean, I wanted to get Betrayal third edition and it was sold out. But Chris is just like,
Oh,
what are you talking about? Like, and he went back and he got one. And I'm just like, sweet. So anyway, bless him. He was a really generous guy. I did not think that I would be walking out of there with a copy of that game. And even though the guy that designed the game was not there, I got the team members to all sign it. At least I got some autographs. So I
That's
mean,
cool.
it can happen. Now, Inspector Retro, who came, he was the only other guy from the community that I knew. Turns out there were a few other people. Like PSK was there. I had no idea, so I never even went over to where he was. Um, and he may or may not be there this year. But Inspector Retro, his whole goal was to like, I'm gonna get one of those Avalon Hill T-shirts and I'm gonna demo a game. And I'm like, good luck. But it ended up he was able to get one. So the regular team members were wearing the red Avalon Hill shirts, staff shirts, but then they
you
had
still
like
should have. You still should have worn a "I'm Doug Hopkins" allegedly shirt last year.
that would have been great. Oh man.
That would have been great.
Actually, my
That would have
plan
been
is
great.
so somebody who hears this is gonna steal my idea, and that's fine. You're cool, and we're gonna get a picture together. I'm gonna print out that fake Jungles of Delthrak cover, and I'm gonna get somebody to sign it. So,
Oh, that'll be cool.
because I'm sure
That'll
the
be cool.
real Jungles of Delthrak will be revealed by then, and then we can laugh about how it's exactly the same, or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, they had the red shirts, but then they also had the gray shirts that said volunteer staff on it, and so they gave him one of those. I'm sure he got to keep it.
Cool.
Um, but yeah,
Cool.
so you had people demoing HeroQuest, and as you guys know, HeroQuest is supposed to be a 90-minute game. Yeah, right. It's more like two to
Yeah.
3 hours, especially if you're doing like side
Especially when
conversations.
we're playing it.
Especially when I'm playing it. Yeah. Well, when you're playing it live, there's so many things that we do on like streams and virtual games that you don't have to do in person. Like you don't have to
No.
roll. Like
No.
everybody rolls their dice, you immediately know what it is. The problem is people start doing side conversations and yeah, or oh, gotta go, or oh, gotta go to the restroom. So I got involved in a couple of HeroQuest games, even though I was not signed up for any. I just kept coming back. I would do a circuit. I would go around, look at stuff, then I'd come back and be like, is there a spot open? No? Okay, coming back. And I keep coming back. And finally I got involved in the games, but I did not get to finish a single HeroQuest game the whole time. But it was fun to try. But yeah, you just sit there for a couple hours. But I mean, they had giveaways and stuff. So it's like, yeah, you paid your $8 to sit here and play HeroQuest. At the end of the evening, you can take it home. You know, so especially getting towards the end of the convention, you have people just offloading products or giving you heavy discounts. So that's something to look out for
Cool.
if you're trying to. Now, if you're trying to, but yeah, it's if you just want to blow a lot of money, it's easy. But yeah, I walked out of there with there was some Munchkin stuff that somebody in the community wanted, so I grabbed that and I mailed it to him. I did not mail any Dreadvale dice because I didn't get those requests until like after. So I was like, oh shoot. But I did get a copy of
I am
Betrayal for free.
still
Yeah,
I'm still a little disappointed with the Dread Veil dice because if they were frosted, I'd be able to
see them.
read them.
Yeah.
But because they're completely transparent, I
Well,
need to do something to them because they're really cool, but I can't read them, so I don't get to play with them.
they're hard to read. Well, one suggestion was if you take a white or silver chrome marker paint marker, you can color the designs, and they're a lot easier to read than like the
No,
dark purple.
but I'm thinking I wanted purple dye.
Yeah. Well, if you're
I need to use a purple.
yeah,
I need to use it. It may be
purple
a very
chrome.
light purple, like like some flower purple or something.
I
And
do.
I'd probably I think nail polish would hold up really well. I think I've
Yeah.
said that before.
Yeah. Or
'Cause I use nail polish on tools.
sure, it works. And there's also lacquer. You can spray lacquer on. You can use acrylic varnish. Spray. I have found that spray primer and like spray paint for plastics actually works pretty well on a lot of the stuff. You just have to make sure you let it cure for like almost a week.
Well, spray paint is going to be hard because um, I want to basically I want to re-ink the dice. I don't want to like spray paint the dice. They're
Oh, I
clear
get
and
it.
that's cool.
I get it. Yeah.
But I want to re-ink them with something, and it actually would be really good to ink a light color over the dark because then the other sides wouldn't, shining through the clear dice wouldn't obscure what you're seeing. So that might be the way to do it.
People don't like other people who flex. So I want to give some good news to some folks. So there were some exclusive dice at Gen Con for HeroQuest. Not the Dreadveil dice, like a lot of people were thinking, but there were, I think they called them like factory seconds. They were
Yeah, yeah.
translucent greenish blue, like cyan, I guess you'd call it, dice. These are not the same as
So like the
Frozen Horror. The Frozen Horror ones are deep blue. These were like a lighter color, so they printed them the wrong color or whatever. So they gave these away for free. And I have two of them, and both of them have cracks. They've developed cracks in them.
Mm.
well, they
So
were factory seconds.
yeah, yeah. So nothing to expect. But I mean, if I had sold these on eBay for $50, first of all, I would be a villain. Second of all, whoever got them would feel cheated. So, but none of my other official ones have cracked. But yeah, these have visible cracks in them now. So yeah, I mean they kind of look cool, but it's like I'm like, okay, if I actually use these dice, it may get worse and they may actually split open. But there you go. So yeah, so other stuff about Gen Con, if you just get generic tickets, so they're like $2 a piece. A lot of the events will be just like one ticket, two tickets. Like they had at the Warhammer section, they had just piles and piles of like sprues, and you pay a ticket and you just sit there and just build whatever you can, you know.
Cool.
And I can't
That's
remember
kind of neat.
if the parameters was like everything you can build in an hour or something like that, but it was like you just had like piles and piles of like random sprues. You could saw people like basically dumpster diving through them, and then you had other guys sitting there painting, and it's like yeah, and then when you're done, just take it with you, have fun. They also had um, people
I
playing,
got to tell you, Games Workshop, those sprues cost them nothing.
yeah,
What
pennies.
the product that Games Workshop sells that costs anywhere near what you pay for it retail is the paint.
The paint, yeah, they definitely had the
The
paints.
paint, yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
so
The
yeah,
plastic costs nothing.
so Games Workshop, yeah, Warhammer, the Kill Team game that they had going. So they had, and I didn't even know they sold it, but you can actually buy it. It's just like they're just blocks of terrain where it's just like a bunch of maze-like corridors, and you just lay them end to end so that you can have like a whole table length of mazes. And they had people playing Kill Team, so it's like you pay $2, and you're basically going to get through like 3 or 4 rooms before you just get absolutely killed because each room would get harder and harder. But there was a guy, and I forgot his name, but he was cool because he was there like every day, and he was just like he would play and he would get killed, and then they would let him keep like the items he found, so like the guns and the other weapons or whatever artifacts that he found. And so he'd try to like get people. It's like, oh, join me. It's like, okay. So we join him, and then like we all get killed, and it's like, yeah, you know what? You can have the thing that I found. Like, so he had this pile of stuff he had accumulated. So I don't know if he made it to the final room, but I hope so. But that was fun. But I mean, you would just play a game. You'd maybe be done in like 20 minutes. Um,
Sure.
There was I got to play Space Hulk for the first time. There was another another
It,
set of
you see what I mean about
labyrinths.
Space Hulk basically being Space Hulk is basically uh, sort of an advanced space crusade, except obviously it was around first. So
Yeah, yeah, it has some similarities. And when I was deciding which one I wanted to get, I got Space Crusade because it had more variety, more visual variety, and it sounded more like HeroQuest to my mind, even though it's much more of a skirmish game. There's almost no exploration. Space Hulk is basically like a 1v1 game, and yet it still does have that element of, okay, the Marines are going in and the Gene Stealers are sneaking around and popping up to attack. But yeah, you've got action points that you've got to use. So it's like, okay, I can turn and then I can fire. And it's like, okay, do I have enough, to do anything else, or no? That's it. But the Space Hulk that they had set up, they had a big sign saying this is, these are not the official Space Hulk rules. This is a special edition of the rules specifically for Gen Con. And they were using like I think they were 12-inch McFarlane action
yeah,
figures of
yeah.
the Warhammer 40K characters. And so it was like, instead of having an entire squad of Marines, it'd just be like one character. So it's like, oh, you want to be the orc berserker with the cybernetic arms? Like, okay, I'll be that guy. So I go in, a couple Gene Stealers come out, I kill them, go around the corner. Oh no, there's too many, and I get killed. It's like, okay, well, that's fine. And then it's like, oh well, let's play it again. Except this time I'll be the Space Marine with the black armor and the spikes on him. Like, okay, let's have him go in. So I kind of got a taste of the game, and they got some money, and it was fun. Oh yeah, with the guy who was running the Kill Team games, he was dressed up as some. See, I don't know all the lore, but he was some like character. Like he had like a gas mask on and like little eye things, and he was like completely covered head to toe, and he was doing like a character. It's like, oh, my lifespan is several centuries, and you only live to be 70, so let's get this game going. He had little jokes, but eventually he had to take the mask off because it was too hot in there. But yeah, every little table had somebody doing their thing, and there was a few indie games that I went by, and it's like, yeah, just show me this game that you developed. It's like, okay, so there's definitely plenty to do, plenty to see. But yeah, if you wanted, you could spend the entire time shopping. If you wanted, you can spend the entire time playing games. If you're reporting,
There's just like fun
you're
to do.
yeah, if you're reporting, you could probably get through the whole thing in like 2 days. Because I kind of found myself, I was just doing a lot of wandering around, just looking at stuff. If I had just stopped at the first table that looked, like I never would have left. So I think there's definitely, if we want to set up our own games, we can. But since it's your first time going, Ribby, I don't know. You might want to just kind of play it by ear to see what you think.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to spend a day playing a game. So
Yeah, but they do have a few
Um,
events. So last year they had the Honor Among Thieves movie, like they were showing that. I didn't go to it. There was a haunted walking tour of Indianapolis, which was fun because you got a tour of the city, but also they tell ghost stories. And it's like, oh yeah, and that hotel, that's where the guy got killed, and you sometimes see him in the window. And do you see him? No. Okay, let's go on. And it's like,
my advice for
yeah,
going to, I haven't been to Gen Con, but I've been to, Portland Retro Gaming is right here in,
okay,
Portland. And that's a pretty big thing that, it lasts 3 days, and it people who go to this go hard. But don't try to do everything, and make sure that if you want to actually like attend events and whatnot, you've got a booth. You can arrange to have somebody like cover your booth while you are, while you are attending an event.
yeah.
If you've got
Keep an eye on your stuff.
multiple people. But
Yeah,
I mean, that also applies to if you're doing like, pickup games in the hallway or whatever.
yeah.
if you've got this spot right now and you get up and leave, somebody's going to take it.
Yep.
But if
First
you've
come,
got
first serve.
a space that you're playing HeroQuest at, and you've got more than one more than one person who can be Zargon, arrange to take a break now and then.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
plan for that.
Don't get
It's
blood clots in
important.
your legs. Well, one of these HeroQuest sessions was 5 hours long. They blocked out 5 hours. It's like, dang. And
Yeah,
as
well, that's
cool
going
as
to
it
be
would
multiple
be,
people
like
for sure.
I kind of, I was looking at those HeroQuest sessions. I'm like, I don't want to sign up for any of them. Like, I would rather just, I don't know, get a read on it. Like, is this going to be a game that I want to do, or do I want to do my own? You know. But I mean, I'm glad that they have it. You have people that are advertising, first edition and modern edition HeroQuest. And there's just like last year, there's people that they're clearly using a homebrew quest, not one of the official ones. So I think that's cool. And last year we definitely had, I mean, they were demoing stuff at the Avalon Hill tables, and they had people that were like had come, paid for their spot and were playing, their multi-hour game. But one of the guys had all kinds of homebrew rules that he was using. Like he was definitely not using the official rules, and it's like it was pretty neat because you couldn't just assume you knew what was going to happen. It's like, oh, he rolled this die, so he's grabbing one of these other cards, and it's like, oh no, I can search every piece of furniture in the room, and I can search the floor, or someone got killed. Like he didn't have death saves, but it's like you could still like walk over to the person's body and like try to use the healing potion on him to bring him back. So it was like,
So
oh,
run your own game and bring run your own games and bring like the Zargon deck and the wrestling moves and the
oh
feats
heck yeah.
and yeah.
I so I've got to get a move on because okay, it's May 9th. This is gonna be July 31st is when I'm going over there to get my tickets and everything. So I think Board Games Maker, it's like 11 to 14 day turnaround time. So I want to print out some supplementary StarQuest / Space Crusade stuff. So I'm working on a
Oh,
translation of the German into English, which I know very few people care about that, but I wanted to do it. So I got the assistance of another person from the community who's helping me with the translation. We're only about halfway through it, but if need be, I can finish the last eight pages myself. So I plan to bring that. And I also want to print out some cards to hand out, which is what I did last year as well. Homebrew, free. So
appreciate those. Thank you.
yeah, last year I had two treasure cards, Potion of Speed and Holy Water. Because remember, those were equipment cards in the new version. They weren't treasure cards like the original. I think this year I've still got some of those left over, so I'll bring those. I also want to do nothing cards, nothing, because those are really popular with our European fans. And also, I want to do a boot tile for the board. So I'm gonna have to get a couple sheets of those, punch those out, and have them in little bags. Yeah, on one side it's gonna be just the boot because the boot is not part of the remake board, and on the other side it's gonna be, I think like in the app when you find a trap, it has a little Zargon skull and it's red with a question mark.
hmm
So I thought, oh, it could be that. So it could double as a trap indicator. Again, just an optional fun thing.
You find an old boot. You try to pick it up. Oh crap!
The trap. Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what
Why
I'm
did
gonna
you
bring.
always think it's a trap?
And
It's
I
not a
also
trap.
I also want to design some T-shirts. So last time I had T-shirts for the group I was with. I'm gonna be with a different group this time. Um, but I'm probably gonna meet up with those people as well. Maybe go out to dinner with them one night if we can all coordinate. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna have non IP infringing HeroQuest fan T-shirts. Probably not enough to just like give them away to random people, but I would like to have a few spares if we run across other community members. I'd be happy to give them out, assuming we have the right size. Otherwise, you might have to wear it as a cape or a do rag or something, depending on your size. But what I did was I took the HeroQuest logo and I basically just made it just completely flat, like black, so it's just more like a silhouette. And then I just kind of like layered on like the text, not the exact font, but a similar font. So it's like you can tell what it is, but it's not the official logo. You know what I mean? So, and it's clearly HeroQuest fans. It's not HeroQuest by Hasbro. But
I've got a couple of these.
yeah, and also we had Bohemius and company design that Grognak the Legend orc wrestler character that we've used in one quest so far. I would like
Oh,
to
that's
print
fun.
those out and bring those along as well.
That's fun.
Yeah. And Ribby,
I've got those made.
you've got them made?
Yeah, the legend cards. Yeah.
Nice. And you've also got, are you going to bring a Space Crusade deck?
I could bring it, sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see what you came up with.
Sure.
And you're going to bring
I
OrcQuest.
would,
Yeah, I'll bring OrcQuest.
So you're going to look
amongst other things.
Oswald the Overladen. You're going to be like loaded down with.
Yeah, the traveling merchant with just a,
Yeah.
a giant backpack of stuff.
You got to have a guy wearing a
you-
donkey costume, like with the two people in it, and it has the.
for,
I don't
if you're
know.
going to carry RantQuest, you're going to need like a cart or something.
You're going to need to.
Well,
buy
I was
those.
thinking about repacking it such that
Yeah.
all the stuff that you need for like the first couple of quests, maybe 2 or 3 quests, is just in one box.
That might be more reasonable.
You don't need all
Yeah.
157 figures or whatever.
Yeah, and all the tiles and all that stuff.
Yeah, all the chits.
Yeah,
So
RantQuest in its original boxes takes up a calyx cube, an entire cube in the calyx just for that,
Wow.
and
Yep.
it sticks out on both ends.
Oh yeah, and if you collect magic cards, be sure you keep an eye on your stocks so that no game designers walk out with your product there. Just a friendly warning.
like maybe a whole pallet load.
Yeah, maybe like that. Yep.
Get the paint and pins in on that.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I'm excited for GenCon. There's a lot of things that I need to work out logistically. I'm going to be driving over there, multi-hour car trip, and then finding a hotel. So I lucked out last year. A good friend of mine was going, convinced me to go, and we were splitting it basically 6 ways. So pretty inexpensive. We had a nice hotel, but there was definitely a commute every morning. I want to say like 10 to 15 minutes. And then we park in the parking garage.
Ideally, you should already have your hotel.
Well, don't. So go for it. Yeah. So I got to figure that out. And then you get a parking pass for the day, and then you walk. You walk in. So we had to walk several blocks to get to the convention center. The weather was pretty nice, though. So didn't matter. Some days I went in with my costume on already. Other times I just put it on at the convention. But yeah, if you pick up your tickets there, it's a bit of a nightmare. Like we had to wait in line quite a bit, and they couldn't find my stuff because I didn't use my real name. But eventually we got that. There's a $15 delivery fee, and you got to sign for it if you have it mailed to you. So there's that. But once you get your tickets, you can actually go back and buy generic tickets. But it's kind of a madhouse when you first come in that first time. But
Yeah,
after that,
I think I'd pay if it were me, I'd pay the $15 to have it mailed
and make
just
sure
to
you
not
sign
have
it.
to deal with
I
that.
just
Ooh.
know that I'm probably not going to be there when they deliver it, so I'm going to have to like go to the post office and sign it right after work before they close. Sunday is probably the most chill day. Like people are kind of winding down, putting things away. But yeah, those first if you're not going to pay for the full thing, you probably just want to do the first 3 days. But yeah, if you're looking for free stuff, you probably want to hang around towards the end, like Saturday or Sunday. You may be able to get discounts and cool stuff for free, or get that last interview with the person that you wanted to talk to. But I know that Amalgamash is going to try to get interviews. I'm going to try to get interviews, so I'm bringing my low tech mid 90s technology to get stuff. And I am gonna print out questions that people have sent me, the ones that aren't answered by that time, and try to get some answers. But yeah, I definitely want to ask about what's the situation with Brazil and Japan. Are they going to get HeroQuest? What's going on? Because there was that whole thing with Estrella. Like there's some type of legal thing going on between Hasbro and Estrella was the publisher of the Portuguese uh, HeroQuest in 1993, which the Brazilian version used the U.S. rules. It was like the only other one that did that. Like
Yeah,
all the other
everything
ones
else
were
was European
European,
rules.
except for Japan. Japan was its own thing. But yeah, but it's like I wonder if, like, I just kind of assumed, like earlier in our conversation, that they'd kind of given up and HeroQuest was just going to be English, Spanish, German, Italian, French, and that's it. No other languages. But who knows? And I think there was, when people were looking over that list of that catalog list with all those EAN numbers, it looked like there were more than what we thought. And then you also have the issue of the companion app having Polish in it, even though there's no Polish HeroQuest. So there may be other ways that they're connecting with other language groups. Yeah. Yeah, the companion app, it has a variety of languages, but the audio, the voice acting is all in English. But
Hmm.
you can switch it to like Polish or Italian or whatever, and it'll change all the text in the game to that. Except for the text on the cards, because the cards are just images. So yeah, it'll still say
Right,
fire
right.
breath and everything there.
So, Ribby, do you know about my pipe dream of Peasant Quest?
I do not.
My sort of pipe dream plan is you can't actually, copyright game mechanics, etc. That's all come up. I basically we've seen a lot of commercial games like Mice and Mystics that are basically HeroQuest rules as it is. I was going to produce a couple page thing. I mean, I'm going to really try to aim for 2 pages that describe HeroQuest rules generically, so that it can be played with the HeroQuest dice if you've got them, regular D6s if you don't. The idea being something that is so short that it would be easy to translate into as many languages as possible, so that if you can get a copy of HeroQuest, you won't need to be able to translate the cards or anything. The rules will already be be able to be in your language, or easy to put them in your language. And if you can't get it, if you're, I've got a friend in Thailand. He's not going to be able to get his hands on HeroQuest. Certainly not in his language. Uh, Something that you could put together, print and play. Really basic boards and standees, kind of aiming for sort of like the Quest vibe.
For the
Um,
Quest.
uh, the Brazilian fan game.
Yep.
Although that one actually literally implements the actual HeroQuest quests. That's
Very, very
can't
similar.
do that legally, but I mean, if you got your hand on a copy of the quest book somewhere, you'd literally be able to play. Just the idea being something you could, if you have access to a printer, any printer, you'd be able to print this out, glue it to some cardstock, and away you go.
Okay.
Really simple, really basic idea. I have done more talking about it than working on it lately. I've had other projects going on. I have spent 4 days rebuilding my server. I sent Kurgan a couple of pictures of it.
Yeah.
It's finally done. The hardware is done.
That
I just have to
does
go the software now.
looking at the screen there, that does definitely have Brazilian HeroQuest vibes. I mean, look at those minis, those standees. Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. So Peasant Quest, we wish you the best with that. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's very feasible. I like it.
There is something to being able to play, with the cards for like the treasure deck versus a treasure table.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Cards
I
are
can
fun.
do a treasure
Dice
table.
is fun. Yeah.
I can do a treasure table trivially, on a piece of paper. I can't trivially, make it so you can produce cards. But if you want to make cards, go for it. The major thing I'm doing differently than HeroQuest rules, I'm not trying to actually just straight up copy it. I'm giving you 2 actions per turn as a player or a monster, and the assumption is one of those could be movement. Both of them could be if you want to haul ass, but anything the players can do, the monsters can do too. So anyway, that's the idea.
Neat.
I wondered if other people are interested in like helping with the art. That is always going to be the thing for me. I'm a blind guy. I make my graphics using, SVG, and I tend to write it in XML. So don't even use the graphics program for making the art.
You mean you're not going to use AI?
Um,
He asked stupidly.
I don't pay for AI. I'm not willing to sign my life away. You currently have to. I mean, if you sign up with OpenAI, you assume all legal responsibility for any lawsuit. You basically agree to indemnify and defend and hold harmless. If somebody sues OpenAI because you did something with their product, you're willing to pay their legal team. That's what the agreement is. I'm not signing that.
That sounds like a pretty good deal. And like Neo, I've got a better deal. How about I give you the finger and you give me my phone call?
Yeah. But what good is a phone call if you're unable to speak?
Hmm? And then his mouth turns to glue. Yeah.
Morph!
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a downside to selling your soul.
So yeah, if I could
I recognize
download
these guys.
I would use it, but I can't. I cannot. I can't use like an OpenAI or something like that. So no Dolly, no. And I just haven't played with it enough. And I mean, somebody else who is willing to play with the AI stuff could make art if they contributed art and they told me it was AI. I'd be like, cool. We'll label it as AI. And if somebody who is an artist is incensed by the fact that AI art exists in the project because somebody gave it to me, they can give me something better.
There you go.
Because I'm a blind guy. I don't art.
Mm-hmm. It's like, what are you, blind? Actually.
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah, when you draw your pictures in a text editor, you will take anything else you can get.
Yep.
So.
Sure, man.
Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't intended to be a big topic or even a big segue, and it has been bigger than it was intended to be. Sorry.
Jacer, so I missed some of these comments. Sorry, guys. So Jacer says Orc transforms into a green tank. Ribby says no, and Jason
Green
says Deathcore. Next topic here, guys. I know we're getting kind of late. I appreciate you being with us here and RantCast. HeroQuest First Light. So nobody believes me, but I do have a very, I'm gonna say credible rumor source for this. HeroQuest First Light. We don't know much about it, but that is the real title, and it is going to be basically a, shall we say, starter HeroQuest. Like, that doesn't answer everything of what it's going to be. So there's definitely room for speculation, but I'm not.
So he's not telling us that Doug or Patrick told him these things.
I'm not saying anything about anybody, but Yeah,
Hmm.
you're right. Okay, so
getting you into trouble.
yeah, getting me into trouble. And of course, since it's an anonymous source, if any of your team are caught or killed, the secretary will deny all knowledge. Okay, so all that out of the way. Um, I don't think it's going to be the Japanese HeroQuest, unfortunately. I was hoping for that too. I don't think that's what it's going to be.
No, probably not.
This
It would be so cool, but
this
probably not.
from what what was described to me, I am picturing something more like, you know how Games Workshop has those like bookshelf games like through Barnes and Noble, like the
Yeah.
Warhammer Quest, what was it, Space Marine Adventures, or was it like the Arena?
Uh,
Talking about like a small box stripped down version
Yeah,
of
of
HeroQuest. It
HeroQuest. Yeah,
sounds like.
that's what I'm picturing. So, and again, now we're going into the speculation phase because this is not was not given to me. I'm picturing like a small box. You open it up. You've got finely detailed miniatures for the heroes, but the monsters are tiles or standees.
Mhm.
Or maybe you've got like one
Just
boss
for safe
monster.
spacing
Yeah,
purposes.
I can
Yeah.
space saving,
I can
cost
see that.
saving. Yeah, and you've got the basic rules, but you might have like maybe a medley of rules. So you might have. I'm trying to think of like stuff that you encounter in expansions.
I'm trying to think of how you would even strip HeroQuest down. It's
It's already
already
pretty
a really
simple.
basic
It's
game.
already pretty simple. Now it would give you a lot of options. Like
Standees for monsters is how you would do it.
Yeah,
That would make a lot of sense.
yeah, you could have just a few tiles. So instead of an entire board, you have maybe just a few rooms
Well, I'm thinking of
or a small
in
board.
when it comes to that, I'm almost
Or a board that is not actually a board, but one that was made out of again something more like Advanced HeroQuest is done, where
could be
you
tiles,
have tiles that you can
Yeah.
assemble into a board.
right? Or I was
Something like
thinking,
Earth City.
Mhm.
in terms of Gloomhaven. There's Jaws of the Lion, which is like a
Yes.
stripped down version of HeroQuest,
Yes.
but or I'm sorry, of Gloomhaven. But it comes instead of with larger tiles and stuff. It comes with a book, and you open up the book to a certain page,
pages
and
of
that's
the
your little
book.
map.
Like a spiral binder that opens
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
it could almost be something like that too.
could very well be. Yeah, because this says nothing about the actual size of it. Like,
Yeah.
are we picturing like the world's tiniest, game of whatever? Somebody was showing like a really, really small board game, it like fit in the palm of your hand. Like, I'm not picturing something like that. I'm picturing like,
No.
There's another Gloomhaven version called Buttons and Bugs that just came out,
yeah,
and
that's the
it's
one.
like that.
The one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could imagine something like maybe the size of Kellar's Keep, or even like Rise of the Dread Moon, but it's like a self-contained game system. Or just open it up and play it, nothing else required. But
Yeah.
you could
HeroQuest would be a little easier to travel, basically.
yeah, but you could easily take whatever, because I'm thinking, oh, but why would they miss the chance to sweeten the deal and get people who already own HeroQuest to buy this thing, even though they don't need it? Maybe there's a couple exclusive figures in it or interesting concepts, and then you could combine that with your
And,
once you
and that was
buy.
why I was thinking maybe room tiles that you build the board,
Yep.
like Earth City or something.
Yeah.
So they're thinking then to like target people that don't want to jump the gun and spend like $100 on HeroQuest,
Yeah,
and it's
they
like,
just wanna
hey, here's
taste of
this
it.
$30 thing to
Yeah.
get you introduced, and if you like it, then now we've got you buying the full set.
Now you're gonna buy everything. Yeah. Yeah. Or could be you already own a bunch of HeroQuest, but you just want a quick travel game to take with you to the cabin or whatever.
The question
Yeah.
I have about we assume that the idea that they might replace plastic with standees or something. I am not convinced at this point that standees are cheaper than the plastics. It may be
Tiles.
that HeroQuest minis, the 2021 version of the minis, are very much they're complex pieces. They're
Oh, you're thinking maybe like
multi-piece.
cheaper minis that are still plastic and three-dimensional.
Possibly. Oh, I'm questioning. At this point, does making a plastic mini, and again, like I said, the HeroQuest ones are kind of complicated.
Yeah, they're multi-part. Yeah.
Whereas in the '90s they weren't, And actually, they were very, very carefully designed to not be multi-part,
Most of them were.
save for the gargoyle.
Yeah, yeah,
Save for the gargoyle.
yeah. I mean, you had your Yeti that needed his head put on, but I mean, yeah, it was pretty much
yeah.
you just pull him out, you clip him out of the sprue, and he's ready to go. He's done. No
But
gluing or anything required.
the thing about at the time, back in the 90s, the cheaper version that was made for Brazil used standees because the plastic
Yes.
costs more than the paper.
Yes.
I wonder if we are now at a point where the
Well,
paper costs more than the plastic.
And that's an interesting kind of thought too. Is like, well, the Brazilian version, the board wasn't even a board; it was just like cardboard that was folded. Yeah, all the heroes and monsters had a smaller version of the door base, the plastic door base, and then the cardboard was just inserted into it. And the artwork was
Right.
really cool. It was like a painting representation of the miniature as if it were painted, is what it looked like. And
Yeah.
the sorcerer's table and the tomb were
Flat tiles?
were papercraft.
Papercraft.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they were full color. All the rest of the furniture was the same as the North American version. Like you've got a cardboard component, a plastic component. But yeah, so they saved plastic by doing that. And there was no armory board. It was just kind of like a sepia tone sketch drawings of all the armory equipment in the back of the rule book. And
Right.
those were the main cost saving things. I mean, the dice were the same. The dice were not
Yeah.
paper. Yeah, but I mean, they had the same quests and everything. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the costs are. I don't think it's so much a cost saving deal as, well, I guess it is kind of in a sense. It's like it's easier to buy Kellar's Keep than
Probably.
it is to buy the game system. The game system is $135,
Sure.
but
Except that you
Kellar's Keep,
often see it for under 80.
yeah, you can find deals. Yeah, $66 was the latest from Amazon.
Yes,
Somebody
I saw
reported.
that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that they could sell this. One is the fact that just seeing HeroQuest at potentially like a regular retail store on the shelf, like one of
Yeah.
these brick and mortar big box retail stores, is a big deal because up till this point, the only place you can find HeroQuest that's not online is at a friendly local game shop or at like during the holidays, like at Ollie's or at Fleet Farm, which are like basically overstock. Like Fleet Farm, they have a small game section, but it's not like really really big. But it's kind of like, yeah, around Christmas time they get a ton of like puzzles and board games and toys, and they
Sure.
sell all that stuff off. And like Ollie's will have like overruns or what do they call it? Not remainders, but like when there's a product that isn't selling very well, but they just want to clear it out of like Target or Walmart and offload it, and then you get it for a
Like just happened
discount.
to a lot of D&D stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, those aren't going to be regular places, but yeah, if it were at a Barnes and Noble or a Target or a Walmart or a Best Buy, like you'd reach
Ideally, all
potentially
of
more
those.
people. Yeah, you'd reach more people than if it was just
I,
hardcore gamers.
I think if you want to reach those people with the HeroQuest brand,
Mhm.
I think the box has got to be $50 or less.
Like a Jaws of the Lion, like a Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catan, something like that. It's got to be a $50 game or
Can't be a
under.
$10 game, $20 game. Yeah, so I'm not sure of the exact
Only
size.
$5 like it was in the 90s. That ain't happening.
Yeah,
That ain't happening.
that was the value for the product.
That's
Okay,
not
so I
happening.
want to address a couple of things that I get pushback on a lot, and I mean I'm going to stick up for myself. Why not? People who say, shut the hell up. HeroQuest is a niche product. It's always going to be a niche product. You neckbeard, whatever. Okay, fine, whatever.
That sounds like, I'm going to get in trouble with these people now. That sort of attitude is elitist gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It's a niche product that will never be anything because we are the special ones.
Yeah, it's
Eh,
As
no.
long as so I'm not posting my stuff to impress those people. The people who think HeroQuest is too small and too inconsequential to matter, you can have a nice life, but I'm not talking to you. I'm if the company is soliciting feedback, I'm going to give them feedback. Is what I'm going to do. If they're
Sure.
offering to answer questions, I'm going
You're
to ask
giving them
questions.
feedback whether they want
Right.
it or not.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's like I mean, yes, like many people, I want to like share my opinion with others and I kind of want to be validated. And sometimes I'll say stuff that's stupid and it gets shot down and maybe I learn a lesson like, okay, well, I was a little short-sighted there. I didn't quite know what I was saying. That's just an experience that people have. But yeah, I know HeroQuest is small, but the point is there is an audience, there is a feedback system, and I'm going to use that because I do care about the product. I do want it to be as good as it can be within our little limited world. Because I know that yes, you can print HeroQuest yourself, you can play your vintage HeroQuest, nothing changes. I'm fine. I'm not gonna you know, tuck into a little ball because somebody online didn't like what I had to say. Like I'm gonna be fine, but I'm still gonna share what I think. And if my voice is shouted down by legions of other people who want something different, well, okay, the company's gonna listen to those people. And the other thing I want to push back on is the whole idea that yeah, I know you get people to say don't say anything negative because then that will spread and make other people negative. It's like, okay, well, I'm not trying to. I try to see both the good and the bad. Like I'll say good things and also say bad things. But there's a tendency for people to focus on negative things. Like you get 10 good things, you get one negative thing, and everybody focuses on the negative thing. Like oh man. Um, I trust that the people that are in charge of Avalon Hill know what they're doing, and hopefully the people at Hasbro who are over them are understanding, like trust them enough to like let them do what they do. Because these companies have to know that if one person on the internet says something, that's just a tiny, tiny, tiny representation of a wider fandom. Like they have to know, like they can't just appease a few people on the internet and it turns out they wildly miscalculated and actually, their majority of their customer base wanted the opposite. Like they have to
Yeah.
have done enough research to know like when they can ignore loudmouths like me or pay attention. So, I mean, I try to present things that I want, but I also try to present other people's opinions as well that I've seen going around. But I know I'm not the only one doing that. So I just feel like when I'm talking, I'm not thinking I'm so special that they need to listen to me. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to express my opinion. Other people are going to express their opinions. And at the end, they're going to make their decision. Maybe they're going to make their decision anyway, regardless of the feedback. Or maybe they won't
Well,
be able to do it because Hasbro will just say this is what we're doing and that's that.
I think expressing that stuff was important. I mean, I think that's the whole reason we ended up getting the Dreadveil dice. Enough of us,
Yeah, wanted
threw a
people want.
fit,
Yeah,
essentially.
well, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I did a thread on Yield In, and I know some people on Yield In are like, man, this guy again. Like, look at his post count. Like he has nothing better to do. It's like, okay, fine. It's my hobby. I enjoy it. But I did a thread. It was something like, what good have whining, complaining fans ever achieved in the HeroQuest community? I'm like, many things. And so I listed like all the things where it looked like it was never going to happen. People said stuff, and then it happened. So it's like, okay. Well, is it just a coincidence
Everything
every
isn't
single
very
time,
plastic
or
because people complained.
yeah? And but I when I say complain, I don't just mean like we're bad people that are just whining and then to shut us up they did it and they shouldn't have had to do that. It's more like what do your customers want? They say what they want
Yeah.
and you go, "Oh, okay. Well, we gave them the thing." And they're like, "Yay." You know. The problem is with the board game industry is they'll create something and it's like you could be talking about it and it's like we're going to have to wait 6 months to a year before we finally get that thing that we asked for. And then we're on to the next thing. Yeah, and then what's next? It's like, yeah, it's going to be another year before you see that. Okay,
Well,
I don't want to completely ignore what Jacer's been saying because he's been saying some good stuff here. So when it comes to HeroQuest,
I'm not even looking at the chat. Sorry, Jace.
when it comes to HeroQuest First Light, I do not know what's going to be in the box. There's a lot of speculation that storyline wise, this might be a prequel. It might be a sequel. It might be a reimagining, or it might not be any of those things. Like it might have quests that are in the game system already, or it might have totally new ones. So
It
we
will
don't.
not be the card game.
It will not be the card game. Yes, the card game was. This was something else that I found out. So the card game, the HeroQuest card game, is bizarre because it is a collector's item. It's sought after. You know, people have fought duels over it. Well, maybe, allegedly. But I mean, it was never intended to be anything other than a way for Hasbro to make sure that they got the HeroQuest
It was
IP
a
secured.
trademark placeholder. Yeah.
Yes. It's like in the comic books industry when they make those ash can covers, like, okay, boom, we've got Superman and he's punching a building, and we've established now this character is in our IP or whatever. I'm using the wrong terms. But yeah. So they put it out there, it's a real game, but they didn't never intended it to be really big or anything, and it's probably not coming back in any form officially. So I guess if you really want it, go get it. The cards are crappy. The ink comes off on your hands. The dice have stickers on them. The rules are kind of weird. But the upside is O'Dannon made a really cool like demake using the classic HeroQuest artwork, loosely based on the HeroQuest
If
card
somebody
game.
actually had the real card game and it's still like it hasn't run completely and it's still in good shape, please scan it.
Seven
Please
hundred
scan those
fifty
cards.
dollars. Yeah, there were some scans early on, but they were pretty low quality. And I don't
No.
think well, when I first saw it, I was interested because the artwork it was the same style artwork as the remake edition, and some of the art I think are actually like preliminary designs because they went through different designs with the spell cards and stuff. So you get like early versions that don't appear in the final game, board game.
I mean, I know they're not bringing it back. I know you're not going to be able to get it.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be cool if we had something that was print and play, quality for the actual. I know the demake is kind of cool, but
Yeah.
I found the rules for the card game not bad.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone. Again, there's a lot of people out there that want it. But if people are wondering, well, why the heck doesn't Hasbro just bring it back? Because clearly people want it. That's why.
Because not many people actually want it who aren't. It's kind of like the issue with the HeroScape thing. They needed so many people to want it at the price that they were offering it.
Yeah.
And the fact is, not enough people wanted it at the price they were gonna. If
Yeah.
they brought it back, they'd have to sell so many in order to justify it, and it would have to be at a certain price for it to be justifiable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be. They made one batch of these cards. They
But I'm
were
glad.
shocked when people bought them.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad though that HeroScape is definitely coming out, and that'll be September.
I'm so glad that that's happening.
Yeah.
That
They didn't just let it go to waste. I feel like my theory or opinion or my theory is that they invested so much in it and they were so ready for it to succeed that it was more worth their while to make it work another way than just to shelve it completely.
If they had done what they did with HeroQuest and offered 2 tiers,
Yeah. Just
I think the $250 was just that's
Well,
a lot.
you got
That
a
is a
lot.
lot of money.
You got a lot for
You
that
did,
amount.
you did.
But it was more
You
than you
did.
needed. It was it was not a starter set. It was like this
It
is
was
like
everything you wanted,
4 or 5
but it was
expansions.
more than you needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
together.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it was. But then I think about what Space Hulk costs. But then again, Games Workshop bleeds you for everything.
Yep.
Um,
They got a good thing going. The old world is back.
yeah, except
All those armies that you sold
they
off, you got to buy them again.
all those armies you sold off, the armies you bought less than 6 months ago, you have to throw away
Yep. Throw them in the trash. And
because they're not useful
Warhammer
again.
40K, Rogue Trader, it's back. I ordered the book. I've got a copy, but see, I don't care about 40K. I care about Space Crusade. That's why I got it. So I spent $65. I gave Games Workshop $65, and now I have
For
the
minis. For
1987
minis.
reprint. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I like that lore that was around at the time that Space Crusade was made. So like 19 that was 87 and this was 1990. Just
Yeah.
like I have a copy of Warhammer Fantasy Battle third
Yeah.
edition, which was out before HeroQuest, the original HeroQuest.
You're not interested in the newer editions because they're not related to HeroQuest or Space Crusade.
Right. And I don't care. I mean, no, I'm not going to get into that. I was going to say like never mind. It's people Warhammer fans are really passionate about their thing.
They
So
are. They
I'm
are.
not going to pretend that I'm one of you and that I know all that stuff. I'm just a HeroQuest fan and by extension a Space Crusade Battle Masters fan. And so I know a little bit about these franchises, but not enough to really get myself into trouble. So
I really
Jacer,
like the old the I like the old Hammer minis.
Old Hammer, yeah. I don't have any. I've one metal mini, but it's from like 2008. So Jacer has some comments I want to address here. So Jacer says, buy all 4 starter sets, and you could have the 4 pieces of the full board. Oh man, there's so many. Well, see, that's another thing about First Light. Depending on what HeroQuest First Light actually is, it could be a really annoying thing to a lot of fans, or it might be something that hardcore fans like us are not interested in, but it'll maybe get a few other people in. Or it might be something
Oh,
that
I'm getting it.
is just another piece of the puzzle that everybody buys because it's awesome. So it remains to be seen exactly what it will lead to. Will this? I doubt this will be a limited run thing because they said they're done with that. It's going to be a retail product. But will it just be in English? Will it just be? Will it be like a store exclusive? Because that was always the thing that we were worried about. It's like, well, why isn't HeroQuest available at Walmart or Best Buy or something like that? It's like, well, because those stores might insist, oh, we have the exclusive Sir Ragnar figure. Oh, and the other store has the exclusive Mummy figure, and so then people get mad because they're like, now I got to buy 4 copies to get the complete game, because everybody wants their exclusive. So there's always a possibility that something like that might happen, and it might piss people off. But as far as we know, right now, First Light is just one thing. So I guess it remains to be seen. Like how well it's received will probably determine like will there be other things like that in the future. Other
I heard
alternate starter
um,
sets.
um, I'm about to really offend people.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
Apparently,
7-second
Taylor
delay.
Swift.
Yeah.
Apparently, Taylor Swift has put out a 5th variant of an album that has an exclusive track. It's only available for 24 hours online for like $8, but then you got to pay $8 again for shipping. And if you didn't get it in the 24 hours, it's gone for good. And it is the 5th variant of an album. It just happens to have an exclusive track that you won't get anywhere else.
Oh man.
Mm.
And by the time you get to a 5th variant album, it's a cash grab.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, we are talking about a company whose name is Hasbro, who is all about the exclusives. But
Yup.
but they're like so they sell toys to like little kids. They sell collectibles to adults. So they do both and HeroQuest is supposed to be not an exclusive thing. They've tried it, and they've met with resistance every time they've tried it. So I wouldn't put it past the company to try it again,
Well, I do
regardless.
Especially
too.
now
I
that
think
they're
so
under
too.
new management.
Yeah,
Yeah.
regardless of the wishes of Avalon Hill. But see, I think just as a community, we just have to stand firm. Now, I know there's going to be people out there that say, "What the hell are you talking about? I love exclusives. I want exclusives." Like, okay, but consider this: the larger body of potential customers doesn't want exclusives. So yes, they would benefit, they
Yeah,
would make
but
money,
see,
but
the ones who want exclusives are the ones who want want to buy two of them, one to keep and one to invest in,
yeah,
and
yeah,
hope that they can flip it for hundreds or
right,
thousands of
right.
dollars
Your
to
side
somebody
business, yeah, your side
who's
business is not my concern,
promo.
and the company
Yeah,
doesn't see any of that either. So why would they care to cater to that? I mean, if I think they're making a calculated decision. If it was the opposite, if when the HasLab campaign started, all the feedback they got was we want more exclusives, we want more higher priced, limited time items, I'm sure they would have gone full steam ahead with that. But because that's not the reaction they got, then they went with what Chris and the main guys in the Avalon Hill team wanted, which was this will be a retail product, just like the original HeroQuest. It'll be a mainstream
yeah.
product that'll be around for a while, if not indefinitely. Now, when I say indefinitely, people get mad at me and say, well, how can you expect a company to, fund HeroQuest forever? Well, no, they're not going to do
They're
it
still making
forever.
Monopoly.
They're still making Monopoly. Yeah, but that's
Well,
Monopoly. Okay, but Risk is not,
well, they're
or
turning Monopoly into a mobile game.
yeah.
So
Yeah, there's always talk about how, Chris Cox and other people they're pushing video games and electronic. So it's like, how come HeroQuest is still a board game? Why isn't the companion app the only thing? Like, why isn't it, you know? But it's like, if you're the customer, you still have the ability to complain and the ability to vote with your wallet. And if they do push it in that direction and say, okay, we're going all exclusives, we're going all digital, you're going to lose a lot of
I'm not
people.
buying.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
done. I'm done. I've already got the stuff. I'm not so indebted to them that I feel obligated to buy everything and defend it. I'm not. I'm just gonna say, well, screw you guys. I'm not interested. Have
well,
fun
that
with
goes
it.
back to my peasant quest thing.
Mhm.
If I've got Hero Quest, but if I didn't, I would be happy with something
Yeah.
like Peasant Quest. In fact, I'm probably going to do something like that after after I finish this project for Hero Quest that isn't Hero Quest.
Mhm.
I will probably do something like it for a game that isn't Space Crusade because I want that game. There's not much chance of it coming back anytime soon. And if it did, I would buy it immediately. But there's not much chance of it. So I'm quite
Space
happy
Crusade?
to.
Not Space Crusade.
Space Crusade is not happening anytime soon.
No. But if you want to buy Space Crusade, don't buy it on eBay. You could
Oh God, no,
go to the
no.
UK, go to either the UK eBay or the German eBay, or go to Board Game Geek. That's where you'll find, because in Board Game Geek, I know it's not a perfect place. They have their issues, but their markets are primarily people who love games who want those games to go to a good home. And yes,
Yeah, and
you can't always
there are
predict
people
that.
who own.
Not just people
There
who
are
want to
people
flip
who
it.
own Space Crusade,
Yeah, that's how I got mine.
and they don't. There are people who have the game. They don't play it. They would rather see it go to somebody who
Yeah,
will.
yeah. I mean, the guy that sold it to me, I was like, "You're basically losing money by doing this." Like, and he was cool about it. He wanted me to have it. He didn't want all kinds of like publicity and credit. It was just a really cool thing, and I was really honored. I thought it was my privilege to buy it. It was like, dang, and you're going to ship it out of Europe at great cost because at the time there was a strike going on, so it was like really hard to get stuff
Yup.
mailed. And I got it, and I was thrilled. And that's part of the chase. Is it's like if I could have just easily bought it, no hassle, versus I had to kind of work to get it. But I mean, it was within my budget. I always say like if a board game is $200, it better be like a really great game that I really love, that I really am going to play a lot of, get a lot out of. And if it's more than that, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until it's discounted. Yep.
So you're not picking up Terror in the Dark or
Nope.
the Space Crusade expansion. I can't think of the name of it now.
Mission Dreadnought. I have Eldar
Mission
Attack.
Dreadnought.
Eldar Attack is actually the one I wanted more out of those two anyway. But yeah. I mean, Space Crusade does have some nice things. It's like, you take the Dreadnought apart and then you put it back together with the other Dreadnought. So you've got like the tall legs and the short legs, and you got the 4 arms and the 2 arms. So you can combine it into the one that you want. That's why you don't glue them down, because you got to be able to take them apart again. And it gives you more of the same. So more dice, more Marines, more androids. They weren't Necrons yet. To get the little factory. But the Eldar Attack I like because you've got the Eldar figures, and their weapons bolt on a little easier than the Marines. So they actually are kind of like an evolution of it, and they're pretty cool. So Jacer's got a couple more comments here. He says, buy all 4 starter sets, and you can have the 4 pieces of the full board. I mean, a lot of toys do that. You buy the action figure, and it's got like a leg. And you buy the other action figure, and then it's got an arm. And it's like, you build
Playsets and toys.
the big room. Yeah, and HeroQuest was going down that road in 1992 because you had the Barbarian and Elf Quest packs, and they were going to have a Wizard and Dwarf Quest pack, and it's like you combine them all together so that you could have like the ultimate, collection of, the best potions for each hero and the best artifacts for each hero, and they all go together and they're super strong, and they're fighting these ridiculously overpowered monsters and ridiculous numbers of traps and quests that last 6 to 8 hours because every room on the board is taken up. you know but yeah, I think right now HeroScape is more the type of venue for that sort of thing. Like they could sell just endless booster packs and mystery boxes and
Oh yeah, because
terrain packs
every
and
booster pack, I mean, it would be like if the HeroQuest board were not a board, but it was actually tiles. If it had been,
plastic tiles,
and
yeah,
each
painted plastic tiles.
well, even if it was just cardboard tiles,
Mhm.
and you buy the
Like Battle
you
Map.
buy the barbarian pack, and then suddenly you've got the ability to have ice areas, and you buy the dwarf one, and you've got tunnels, and you buy the wizard one, and you've got I don't know what the fuck do you get for wizard.
But you see what's happening is it's almost going into the territory of spend more money on the game, get easier chances to win. Because if you buy the barbarian pack, your barbarian is stronger than if you don't buy it. So
That's certainly the way Hasbro's going these
they
days.
market it. Even
Yeah.
though the reality is, if you have the original game system or you have Peasant Quest, you can just make it up. Oh yeah, the barbarian, he's got 20 body points. He's got dual wielding, flaming triple crossbows. He's got the spiked armor that's enchanted, of course. He's got the boots of divinity. He's got the cape of, of shadowy death. He's got all that stuff. And the wizard, I mean, don't even get me started. He can summon Godzilla and Mothra and King Ghidorah, and they're all under his control. And the dwarf, well, make up whatever you want. He's got roller skates. he took it easy. He's not even in the game. He has just an army that fights for him on his behalf, in his name. Yeah. So I mean, you can make all that stuff up. And the thing is, that's what a lot of us kids did is if we didn't have those expansions, we just made the stuff up. Like,
Sure.
oh, we want to have an icy adventure, just make up an icy adventure, or make up something else. You could take
Sure.
anything and say it represents anything else. We already knew the Chaos Warlock could be Sir Ragnar. It could be, whatever you want it to be. So imagination is there. And I think the expansions are nice because it's not just the expansion now allows you to do new things, is that it inspires you. Because yes, you can do the thing that the expansion says, but that Spectre figure could be like 10 different things now that you've just made up because it's another spark, another trigger for your imagination. And then we also run into the question of how long before they run out of shelf space for all these expansions. Like, are we going to get expansions forever?
Yeah.
These friendly local
Yeah.
game shops, I mean, they would like to have just game A game next to game B next to game C because they've got limited shelf
That
space.
that game shop showing the picture
Yeah,
on
that
the
looks a lot like
Discord
mine.
with everything just on the shelf
Except for the small
in
boxes,
in except for the character boxes,
right? In the
the
dice.
quest boxes all in chronological order. I mean, the people who run that game store, they like them some HeroQuest.
Yeah, but the local game shops, and I mean, I'm by no means in one of these big coastal towns, but my friendly local game shop, it looks just like that. Except, just imagine the boxes instead of being laid end to end, they're like more like a bookshelf. They're like tilted inward so that they don't take up as much room. But you can still see,
Uh-huh.
okay, that's HeroQuest, that's Kellar's Keep, that's Return of the Witch Lord, that's Spirit Queen's Torment, that's etc. I was gonna
Well,
pull up.
that suggests they like I said, they care about their HeroQuest.
They like them some HeroQuest. Yep, and I like that too. I was going to look at Elvyler's page, not because he's revealing anything new at this time. I mean, I love Elvyler and his site. It's awesome. Hey, we have his artwork in every stream. But I just want to show you what he did here. This was the official quest order based on people endlessly ask these questions of Avalon Hill, and so they oblige and say this is the intended order, even though, yeah, who's going to buy all these and play them in this exact order? Very few people, I think. But I just want to look at where do you think First Light would happen? So we've got New Beginnings. Almost kind of sounds like, something that First Light would be. Rogar's Hall, which is hard to find these days. And it's in the app, but you can't play it. I don't know why that is. Got the game system. You got the Forsaken Tunnels of Zorzel. Tunnels of Zorzel. This was the Doug Hopkins quest, of course. You got Kellar's Keep. Prophecy of Telor. I don't agree with this order, but this is what they're talking about now. And now it's in retail, so everybody can see it. Spirit Queen's Torment, straight after, oddly enough. Then Return of the Witch Lord. Then Against the Ogre Horde.
Hmm.
And Wizards of Morcar is not out yet, but we haven't heard word one about this. We did ask Chris Nato about it and Carmine at GenCon. He said, well, if we were to do it, it would probably be 10 quests. So it's like, okay. They were basically, he just put it out there as now that they've started to release these different expansions in these bigger boxes, people are expecting a box full of stuff. So
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Fair.
they would be adding to it. And what they add to it, of course, we have no idea because there isn't a strict pattern. We get one box that has dice, and we're like, oh, the next one will have dice, and it doesn't have dice. Oh, it'll have furniture, and it doesn't have furniture. But then you get, yeah, the Spirit Queen's Torment and Prophecy of Telor together with the translucent figures and the dice, and it's like, okay, those were kind of similar to one another, but then they throw us a curveball again with the next one. So who knows what would be in it? But space is at a premium, so
The
some things
Shadow
they're going to give
knows,
us.
or I mean,
Yeah, the Shadow knows what evil lies in the hearts of men. So yeah, I kind of hope that they retain the title Wizards of Morcar and they don't call it Wizards of Zargon, but some things have turned out that way. They have named things according to what fans call it. So they didn't call it the Gathering Storm, but they did call the Potion of Superior Restoration based on what fans were saying. So, I mean, some things kind of go that way. Advanced Quest, the Dark Company. So before I heard this rumor about First Light, my thought was this is piggybacking on a rumor that Cristobal on Lagoria di Morcar on YouTube reported, which was at some point we're getting another HeroQuest set, like another game system, which a lot of people were thinking, oh, it's going to be a 2.0. It's going to be HeroQuest, but with RPG light rules, or it's going to be the Dark Company, or it's going to be the Japanese Quest. Like there were all these theories. So when would Dark Company come back? I pictured it as a digital quest, but then I'm thinking like we haven't gotten a digital quest since Nightfall, the prequel to Rise of the Dread Moon. So are they
Right.
still even doing those? Or am I just like we don't know their timetable and we don't know what's changed, but it appears, and from what I've heard, unconfirmed, but from what I've heard, the stuff that we're seeing coming out is still stuff that was made when Chris was in charge. So it looks like they're still on the same track.
It would be.
Yeah,
It would be just based on the
yeah.
how long it takes for things to happen.
But once all that stuff is done, so once Jungles of Delthrak is out, and once First Light is out, then what? Who knows?
But then
We
things
don't
will
know.
be interesting.
Yeah. So until we get some, it seems like nowadays, and I mean, people ask this, and Sikashem, to his credit, is the counterbalance. Like he'll always say, well, why are people saying this when this is the only evidence we actually have? You can't say that they've gone radio silent. They've gone radio silent. People say that. They've gone radio silent. We always said they were tight-lipped or they're keeping their cards close to the vest at the start. Like remember before we had the Avalon Hill Discord,
Yep.
before
Yep.
Chris revealed himself as who he was, it was just like, well, how do you find HeroQuest news? You just kind of find it, it just kind of pops up online randomly. And then you had stuff on Twitter. It was Twitter back then. You had stuff then. So what it sounds like what they do now, and I've said this before, is if you go on X or Instagram, they'll have really
See,
generic updates. The real updates happen at these conventions, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
they'll reveal
Well,
something right before it comes out on the Discord.
even with Chris running the show, we got more teasers.
Yes.
Chris
Teasers.
gave us more teasers,
Yeah.
but the real info, and I mean, we figured out a lot from the teasers. We did.
Yeah. He had to feed us a lot of
And
stuff though, because some of that stuff can't be guessed. It's like there's no precedent for it. But yeah.
well,
And it was done a very calculated way. Yeah.
we guessed a lot, but I mean, the real
You guys did. I
info
was a terrible guesser.
was from conventions, and
Yeah.
I mean, the real news was. I mean, that's how they do it. They announce these things.
So what you would say is nothing has really changed in that regard. That's still
Yeah.
how it
What
was.
has actually changed is how many tips we're getting, and the answer to that is we're getting basically not much.
Not much.
Maybe that means they're working on a lot of things. Maybe that's just that they're. I mean, prior to Chris stepping forward, they were all doing the things that they were doing. I mean, the things they were doing didn't change for the most part. I mean, they responded to some feedback, but
It was a
things didn't really
transparency.
change.
Yeah.
What happened was there was so much, doomsaying by lots of members of the community because we didn't know.
Yeah.
And expectations were low.
It was trying to correct that.
Yeah, Chris stepped forward and said, hey,
he would explain, this is why this hasn't happened yet. And he would give, generalities. But it was very educational. And it wasn't like he was going, "Oh, you idiots, you shouldn't do this." But I mean, there were some people that were saying, "Oh, don't complain, don't say this," as if we're going to scare the company off by complaining.
Well,
But
there
yeah,
always are those people.
yeah, because there's the doomsayers on the one hand. Oh, these companies don't know what they're doing. They're going to screw us over. I just know it. I mean, I kind of felt some of that myself. I was like,
Yeah,
well, how
yeah,
many franchises have we seen ruined? How do we know it's not
yes,
going to happen here?
yes,
You know? And
yeah.
oh, it's Chris Cox. Oh, he's terrible. He's definitely going to screw it up. Or oh, it's Hasbro. Come on, that's what they do. You know? Oh, another HasLab campaign. Oh no, you know what's going to happen next? And it's like, and oh, Teo Sabadia, that guy sucks. People just, it's like, and thankfully it didn't it didn't end up that way. But yes, they did have to. Well, first of all, they saw people were nervous, and yes, they explained certain things to kind of like calm us down, but also just like, I don't know, we could direct our speculation and whines in a more I don't know, productive way rather than just
Yeah.
randomly all over the place. And they've said, I understand that there's the relationship we have with Avalon Hill is not, we're not just two buddies hanging out. They're a company that has a job to do to make a
And
profit
their
for
job is
Hasbro. Yeah,
make a profit, sell
and
us
yeah, they're not just
games.
going to tell us to f off. Like, if I mean, they have public relations, to do. So they're going to be nice about it. But yeah,
They're going to tell us to fuck off and be
yeah,
polite about it.
yeah. Well, I mean, some companies unfortunately do tell their customers to f off, and it usually doesn't go well. So
Right.
so far they've handled themselves very well, and so I miss that flurry of activity. I miss the chase, the games that Chris would play with us. Giving us a little teaser, try to get us to guess, what the next thing is. I miss that. But
I'm still trying to figure out what the hell that pink
that,
plushy
that unicorn, yeah, thing was
unicorn cat thing was.
unicorn cat
Because
thing.
I've looked for that for meme purposes, and I have never found it.
Yep. I hope Chris Nato sitting at his desk at Tops or Fanatics is still chuckling to himself about that, because yeah. Okay, so
They went and made it actually a quest.
yeah. Well, and I mean, I've heard other things too about, the fact is, like, I would love to sit down with Chris or with Bill, or maybe both of them, at some point when they're ready, and say, let's talk about your experiences. Once the NDAs run out and they're able to talk about it, openly, honestly. Um,
Hell, I'd like to sit down with those guys just for a drink.
sure, they seem like nice
Yeah.
gents to hang out with, but I mean,
Unfortunately, my drink would be like a diet root beer or something. But hey,
not not
whatever.
not absinthe with dry ice in it. Um,
Well,
Look at this guy with the bourbon and board games, or Ribby.
I'll say I'll drink yours for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like, here, drinking for two. Yeah.
You're welcome to it. I can't have those
The
things.
thing is,
So
the best that I can hope for is that, rather than the franchise diminishing after these guys left, that the people that are there now and whoever they're getting next makes the best of what they've got and can continue forward in the same spirit. And who knows, maybe they'll
totally,
have
totally,
opportunities to do even better things, rather than just assuming
absolutely.
it's going to just go to crap. And I mean, there may come a time when, and I'm kind of hoping for this, is that rather than the franchise exhausting itself, like they make 25 expansions and then they're just like working on 26, and then they cancel the whole thing and HeroQuest is just gone for another 30 years. Like, rather than that happening, I would rather see, like, you know, they slow down and then they stop releasing new content, but they keep selling the old content, they keep promoting it. I mean, they could keep
Yeah,
making videos saying like, "Hey, remember Return of the Witch Lord? Remember this highlight, or here's a new way that you could play one of these quests. I mean, they could keep promoting the stuff they do. We don't necessarily have to get, the Monopoly treatment where there's a new, yeah, like you say, variant cover of HeroQuest with slightly tweaked rules and a My Little Pony crossover to keep it relevant. It's like what's wrong with just promoting the product that you've got, and it just becomes a mainstay, like on your store shelf. You've got Risk, you've got Connect Four, you've got Monopoly, Gloomhaven, and HeroQuest. Like, what's wrong with that? So as much as I'd like to keep getting new content, if it gets to a point where it's going to be too much or the quality is going to drop, I'd rather they just
Right.
maintain
Definitely.
rather than just
Definitely.
expand forever. And I mean, I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not running one of these multi-billion dollar, multinational corporations. But what's wrong with expanding into other markets? Like, what if they could get those Quebec gamers, with their dual language stuff? What if they could get into Brazil? What if they could get into Japan? What if they could make inroads into, yeah, all these enclaves of HeroQuest fans that are out there if, you just knew where to find them and and they knew that you were still catering to their desires, that game that they sold off 30 years ago that they could play again with their kids, their grandkids. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that costs money. It takes work. It's a risk, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems like something that they could do. It's not like the only way that they can survive as a company is to just pound away until no one wants it anymore, like so many other franchises have done, or reboot everything, over and over again.
Mm.
So after the Dark Company, I mean, the now Elvyler admits that since these have not been released in the remake yet, we don't quite know if this is where they would put them in the chronology. So after Against the Ogre Horde, maybe Wizards of Morkar, maybe the Dark Company, but then we get into the Northlands and the Frozen Horror. Fair enough. Difficulty wise, this would probably be at the end, I would say, or Mage of the Mirror. And actually, we're getting close to the end of Mage of the Mirror in our streams on HeroQuest fans. And
Mhm.
actually, the version that you saw in 1992 was heavily nerfed from the original. Like, I didn't give Catherine Connors enough credit. Like, her version of, like, in the drafts of Mage of the Mirror is ridiculously barbaric in terms of like destruction. And I mean, you want to fight like 2 or 3 giant wolves in every room. You want to have like ogres be a very common enemy in the early quests. That's what you got. So the 1992 version, as hard as it was nerfed from that original, presentation. And then
Shit.
yeah, and then the Avalon Hill version is even more nerfed, because you get more treasure and the ogres are only 5 body
Yeah.
points. So actually, our heroes that you've seen it, iKarith, the heroes who played through Frozen Horror are continuing into Mage of the Mirror, so they're really powerful. Those guys have stockpiled a lot of potions, so I have
Yeah.
felt perfectly fine because we're not going anywhere. We can take our time. We can take multiple sessions to finish these quests, 2 hours at a time every Saturday or Friday for Mage of the Mirror, I should say. So I felt free to take the draft notes and apply them. So they're a lot of times they're fighting those original monster configurations because they
Oh.
can handle it, and little plot points that get lost along the way. Yeah, the original was it's interesting. See, that's the thing. I would gladly pay for like a designer diary of like old notes. Like I want to read Stephen Baker's old notebook. I want to see the Dwarf Quest pack. I want to see all that stuff. But that's me. I mean, I know that a lot of the fans out there would just want to see. No, I want to see the play tested,
I
edited,
do. I
corrected.
do want retail. I
Perfected
really
version.
want retail versions of female original heroes. Or well, I mean,
Yeah,
I want the dream for the original game was to have male and female
All the
heroes by the
classics.
time they were done.
Yep, yep. There's gonna be a
And
female dwarf, female wizard. Yep.
we didn't get that. If you bought Mythic, or if you knew about Mythic at the time, you got it, but
And
you
yeah,
didn't get it
the HasLab
in the
campaign.
retail version.
Yeah, but
It
I loved what they did. I liked the fact that because I was thinking, well, they made the default elf female, so are we just going to get another female elf?
fine.
No, it should be a male elf. And they gave us one, and it wasn't just the HasLab one. It was like an even better, I thought, sculpt. I mean, he looks awesome.
Yeah, so it was something like if you've got the HasLab version, you got something that isn't in the retail. But
Mhm.
if you've got but you're not it's not wasted if you bought the retail. So
No,
it's good both directions.
yeah, and it looks like
But
every chance they've gotten to just duplicate the old thing, they've tweaked
you
it and
didn't.
improved it. They've
You didn't.
refined it a
Yeah.
little bit. So they take
But
pride in their work.
I still want to see, I still want to see alternates for the original four.
Yep.
It isn't as important for the others because I mean when you get on to like the druid and you get on to
Well, we've got a male druid now too.
warlock,
Yep.
but I mean I kind of did want the HasLab sculpts for those in the package, and I guess that
Yeah.
they did something different.
I wanna
Um,
see the rest of the Bard's crew. I mean, is he the captain? Where's the first mate? Where's the cannon guys? The guy that's swabbing the deck? The little goblin cabin boy. All that. I want the one with the hook and the peg leg.
that was genuinely the orc bard. That was a thing that genuinely, when it was announced, like during the during after the campaign before the actual retail release, I was like, I don't. This doesn't fit the lore because it doesn't fit the Warhammer lore.
No, he's
But
a
they didn't.
misfit. The thing is, though,
They didn't do the Warhammer lore. They did something different,
well,
and the world they've built.
say your thing, and then I'm
I
gonna I'm
I
gonna
get
demolish it.
I get that there can be an orc bard. That makes sense. It would not have been my first choice for
No.
the orc hero, but I had lots of apprehension with what when they announced it because it seemed like so many franchises have been ruined by attempts to go in and demolish expectations because somebody has decided that those expectations are offensive for
Yeah, you
some
can't have
reason.
you can't have
Because
evil monsters.
you can't have evil monsters, and everything is actually a representative of something else. Anytime
Oh
anything is
no.
evil, it's a representation of some indigenous something or other.
Oh,
Not
don't do
because
that.
you think so, but because they've decided you think so. That's
Yeah, I don't
dumb.
like that.
It pisses me off,
People were afraid.
and
Yeah, people were afraid that was going to happen to HeroQuest. So far, they've dodged it.
I was afraid it was going to happen too.
Yep.
It didn't. I am happy with what they did with the orc bard. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the lore that there are orcs who do not serve the dread forces, but there are orcs that do, and not a small number of them.
Yep.
I like that they did it that way.
Most of the orcs that you meet are still the old evil cannon fodder, or maybe just chaotic guys that you always love to hate and hate to love. I do want to say one thing. So again, I'm not a Warhammer expert, and I'm not a true, grognard or whatever the term is for people who play Warhammer. Old and hammer grandfather. I'm not that guy. So, but I just want to say, from my amateur reading of the core rulebook, third edition, and I even looked at the first edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, there are these things, and tell me if you've heard this before, half orcs. There are these things called half orcs, and
Yes.
some of them are evil and some of them are neutral. And neutral means they could be a playable character potentially. And some of them are mercenaries and or have other trades. Some of them know magic. And yes, like you say, they could be a bard. So it is possible within the lore, and they could be. They might be. They're often viewed as misfits or outcasts or whatever. So that kind of seems to fit what the bard is sort of presented as. He's just kind of he's a weirdo. you know he doesn't fit in with his society, but maybe he could make it as a hero or as an NPC. I personally prefer to think of him as a pirate, though. I like the idea of orc pirates, so I've just made him a pirate in my
Well,
interpretation of it.
or pirates just it's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
pirates sing
And I
songs
mean,
too, so it can still work.
you could make him an agent of chaos, basically.
Yep, there's orcs out there now. Just because they don't work for Zargon doesn't mean they're good. They might still be more like the ogres, where you get them in a fighting mood, or you pay them enough, and they'll go burn down a village, and eat everybody. Or, they might have some redeeming qualities to them. It's possible.
Like not eating everybody.
Yes, we'll eat you last. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that I did in my Mage of the Mirror is one of the guys wanted to do an uncommon feat to try to sway one of the ogres to join the party. They succeeded in the role, so I gave him an ogre mercenary. And as they were, clearing out the rooms, killing all the monsters, interestingly, the last monster that was killed in the room, after that happened, the ogre got a body point back. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how. Somehow, mysteriously, he was healed after killing an enemy. But be that as it may, there's plenty of possibilities. I mean, when I was a kid, I liked the idea of there being good monsters. There was a few monsters that were heroic that would fight the other monsters. So if you want that in your game, easy to do. And even though they're not trying to be compliant with Warhammer lore, I think it's cool that it just coincidentally uh, fits if you want it to. Like it's possible.
Sure.
Yeah, because there's still plenty of Warhammer fans that are also HeroQuest fans, so they can still
Yeah.
find something to like. I mean, it's not a Dread Moon, but it might be a Chaos Moon. It's like there's things you can compare it to. So after Mage of the Mirror, naturally we've got Nightfall, and then we've got Rise of the Dread Moon. And here's where I was thinking maybe First Light would happen because, okay, so the sun goes down, the moon comes up, and then the next day, the dawn, if First Light, maybe that's where it takes place because
Maybe.
they put Crypt of Perpetual Darkness at the end. So it could be the first light of a new day, or people were saying, well, maybe it's set at the very, very beginning. Like maybe this is during Rogar's time. Rogar, Tellar, Grugni, and who am I missing? There was the barbarian, the wizard, the dwarf. Who is the elf? I'm forgetting the elf's name. But anyway,
I can't.
it was supposed to be these four heroes that fought Zargon or Morkar the first time, hundreds of years ago.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
All right, I'm gonna get it because it's gonna drive me nuts. But yeah, the original four. Now they might not, but there's nothing that says they can't use those names. It's not like those are Warhammer names that are because Rogar is mentioned in
Sigmar is.
Sigmar is, yeah.
Sigmar was
Or Grugni was
the,
he's like a deity
it
in the
was
pantheon of
suggesting that
dwarves.
you use the name
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. It was originally
Yeah.
you might consider using.
Yeah. You might consider calling them Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man. I mean, Black Widow. You could. You wouldn't have to name them though. It's like, okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Phoenix's page to try to look this up here. Or no, why am I doing that? I can just, yeah, you're referring to the first edition.
Yes.
In the first edition, they mention, yeah, sample names because you can still name your hero whatever you want. It's got to be either a joke name or a name from pop culture. That was how we tended to do it. Did you guys have any good memories of like good names for characters that you made up back in the day?
Oh God, you know what? I have all my original sheets. If I really wanted to look, I could
Oh,
just go
dang. That's
pull them
great.
out.
I have some faded old sheets from that time as well. Yeah, it's like my brother has the main set and I have like one that I bought a long time later. Let's see, looking here. Heed well my words, for I am Mentor. Well, heed well the words of Mentor. Okay, so Morcar, the Lord of Chaos, Rogar the Barbarian. He bore a glittering diamond on his brow, the Star of the West. It's worn by the ancient kings of legend. And it's Athelorn, not Elithorn. Oh, okay, not Grugny. It was Durgan. Durgan was the dwarf. What is the other name? Okay, yeah. Durgan is the fearless dwarven warrior from the world's edge mountains. Ladril, or Ladril, the elven fighter mage. From distant Athelorn. And Telor the wizard, whose sorcery was to save Rogar on many occasions. And also get him out of many bar tabs as well. Yep. Okay, so there we go. Those are the classic ones. So yeah, and then people were saying, well, what about some of these other characters like Wardaz or Ragnar? Like maybe it's not that far in the past. Maybe it's just a little bit. Maybe a decade or a few years before HeroQuest. So it could be early adventures. On the other hand, it might be a whole new set of heroes. Like maybe it won't be the classic four. Maybe it'll be four new heroes or three or
That
two, you know. Uh,
that could be a thing that would make people pick it up.
yeah. Well, another idea was what if it's not a campaign per se? What if it's just a grab bag of random quests? Like here's a solo adventure, here's a group adventure, here's a gauntlet kind of thing,
That
or here's a tournament.
that doesn't fit with your rumor from a good. That doesn't quite fit with your rumor from a good source.
As a starter game.
Yeah.
Well, but how? Other than narratively, like there would be no narrative. It'd just be here is.
If
Go ahead.
if it was like random quests that I mean, it would have to come with all the things you need to play if it's
Yes.
a new starter game. So you would need dice.
Hmm.
You would need heroes. You would need monsters. You would need a board.
Tiles.
You may or may not need traps. You're going to need doors.
Yep. Cardboard doors.
So I mean, you need a lot. You need a lot to get started.
Yeah. But think about that though. Cardboard doors. People would look at that as a downgrade, but actually, the original game used cardboard doors, and we have cardboard mirrors with the old door bases, so that has precedent.
Yeah.
But would it need to be a campaign of quests set in the chronology that we're looking at here? That's the question.
It
Wouldn't
wouldn't need to be, but I feel like that is still the route they would go because that is kind of the essence of HeroQuest in general.
you feel like they would try to make it fit somehow, so there'd still be
Yeah.
some value or interest for people like us
Yes.
who already own all the stuff and are
I
just
do
looking
think
for
if
an
they're
excuse
aiming
to
for a
buy it.
small box,
Mhm.
there's going to be some alternative to the standard HeroQuest board, and I just about guarantee it would be something that we can use if we already have the. Because I don't think they're going to come out with anything HeroQuest that somebody who isn't already in into HeroQuest can whatever it is, it's not going to be a waste.
Yeah. But this could be for somebody who's like, okay, all my friends have HeroQuest, but I'm still not sold on it yet. I'll just pick up this little
But it's,
box. I'll check it out.
but it's also going to be something that can be sold to people who already have all of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
So
compatible
what would it
sizes
be?
and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not going to
So,
make the squares like way smaller or something like that. Or the miniatures will be a
I
different
mean,
scale.
if it's going to be in a smaller box, I'm thinking that room tiles and hallway tiles I'm thinking that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be a bigger box. It
Yeah.
could be a bigger box.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at the size of the tiles that are in against the Ogre Horde. They're massive. Even
Mm-hmm.
Kellar's Keep in Return of the Witch Lord, as small as those boxes are, they've got all kinds of room tiles.
Well, think of I'm thinking of back to Jaws of the Lion. If you had some kind of booklet, but it was the size, it would fit in the Ogre Horde box, and you flip that out, and so you had two large pages.
Yeah.
And the idea of this was to have like a scaled down adventure that you could play in maybe 20 minutes or something like that.
Hmm.
Something like that could work.
But I think I do think if it is something like that, it's going to be something they're going to want us to be able to use in our bigger
It'll be fully
games. So
compatible with
maybe,
the regular edition.
yeah, maybe it'll be something like something like what happens with uh, uh, the Dark Company, where you can literally step off of the HeroQuest board and onto, oh, I don't know, facing pages of the booklet.
Yep. Open
Maybe.
open the book and then there it is. Yeah. I could see all those things. And that's the
Oh, the thing that would be cool with the booklet, though?
yeah.
We have one HeroQuest board, a booklet, you could turn the page. So there could be boards that are more made for the quests that they play on, but you could play other quests, just
Yeah,
like you can with the HeroQuest board.
exactly.
It could
And
be two little boards.
you would save on things like furniture and stuff like that because it would just be, printed right onto that series of, a couple pages of the book.
Yeah. See, there's what you're talking about. And I've never seen Jaws the Lion before. I'm looking at it for the first time here on Board Game Geek. But I've seen the original Gloomhaven. A friend of
Yep.
ours had a game night, and I played it one time, and I was like, man, I've got all these cards. I'm so confused. But I mean, they helped me through it. I mean, it was a cool idea, very ambitious. You've got this huge box, and you're unlocking at things as you go. And yeah, it's like you just open the book.
Gloomhaven, if you got in early, Gloomhaven was an amazing source for cheap minis. You had to get in early because the prices went up. But if you did, it was a ton of minis, and different enough minis that it isn't like if you have 3 copies of HeroQuest, you've got the same 6 orcs. You just have a lot
But
more
you've
of
got
them.
more of them. Yeah, that's why you bought Kellar's Keep Return of the Witch Lord. It's like, hey, I just want more monsters. Is that so wrong? You can always paint them different. But yeah, if you wanted like, yeah, different sculpts. That was
Yeah. The
Quest's selling point is like, oh, all the monsters are different sculpts. It's like, okay, it's a lot.
is that? I mean, I haven't been following that.
Sue Quest.
More than a few times, it has been like, is that even happening?
Yeah. Well, if you are a backer from Spain, you're getting your product, and supposedly if you buy it moving forward, you're gonna get it. Hey, thanks,
Okay.
Wardicon. Thanks for stopping by. RantCast. The Ribbinator laughs at your special cloak, your pretty boots, your pointy armor, and your four winds. Yes, love it. Ribbinator has like 10 swords, so there. Jacer says if you add all the minis from those 4 packs, it is close to the mini count of a core set. And Ribby, I would love to see Famir's back again, but it would take some kind of collaboration.
It's not happening.
It would never happen.
Even if you rewrote the lore.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't.
They did rewrite the lore.
And
they did rewrite the lore, but people still talk about
the old
Fimir and elves running scared. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yep. They've canceled people.
It's not going to happen because too many of the players of this game are adolescents or in their 40s and still act like they are.
Yep.
And I don't profess innocence here because I've made my fair joke, my fair number of Fimir jokes. So.
Jacer also said, put 2 orcs, 2 goblins, 1 abomination, 1 chaos warrior, 1 skeleton, 1 zombie, 1 mummy, gargoyle, and 1 box, aka Spear Queen's Torment, Prophecy of Telor, Kellar's Keep, green skins in a box, Return of the Witch Lord Undead box. Just pointing out that if you got a few more big tiles in each expansion, you could have mini quests with those tiles. Yeah, again, I see that going down the road of the collecting, the booster packs. You have 1 starter set. Okay, you've already invested whatever it is. What if it's a $40, $45 box? You're still not convinced that you want to buy the $135 game system. So you buy another starter box. So now you've got 2 of them. You spend $100, but you put them both together and it's even bigger. And then you buy 2 more. So you've spent, $200. Well, you could have bought the game system for less, but now you've got 4 that go together. But still, if they do that, there's still, the whole point of doing it as a starter box is that it's self-contained. There's always the possibility of you, just like so many other things. I mean, you can start using the alchemy deck in the game system if you want to. It wasn't intended that way, but you can easily do it if you want to. You can use the elf spells in any expansion you want. It doesn't have to just be Mage of the Mirror. Sure, you could start using mercenaries anywhere you wanted. It might throw off the difficulty a little bit, but it can be done. So, yeah, maybe they would release more than 1 starter set. I think, again, depending on how First Light is received, if it's well received, maybe they would do that. Would they be limited time or would they just be out there? Like, how many do they need? They really only need 1. But yeah, maybe that could be a lucrative thing for them if it's going by that old thing that they were intending, like back in 1992, where they wanted you to buy all 4 of them, put them together, and have the ultimate team or whatever. So many things are possible. I'm sure there's somebody at Hasbro that's already thought of this stuff and is already licking their chops at all the money, all that sweet green that they're going to get from that. Well, guys, I think we've kind of run the course. So, any final predictions about? I guess we didn't talk about Jungles of Delthrak very much. We mostly talked about First Light.
We didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah. Interesting thing about jungles is the designer. I guess he had just recently posted about it.
Yeah.
Was it
Hey
on
guys,
Facebook or something like
I'm
that?
super excited, but I can't tell you anything.
Yeah, I'm under NDA, but I did do it.
I mean,
Oh, okay.
good of
Thanks.
him to say that because it's like, what? You designed it? He's gonna be bombarded with questions. Like, I can't tell you jack squat.
What was interesting to me about that is his
Le-
post
Levi
also
Combs.
included the
Levi
art.
Combs.
Levi Combs, yeah. It
Yeah.
also included that goofy box art that we're all
Man,
convinced is fake,
how crazy would it be if that was the real art? Like 100%.
even with the cut off miniatures on the
Yeah, Adobe, I mean
sides of the font.
Adobe announced that they're going to be putting the AI into Photoshop now. So maybe this is a brilliant
Maybe.
plan,
Oh no.
but yeah, still print that out, take it to GenCon, get them to sign it. You're like, "Thanks for the autograph," and you look down more closely and it says like Gary Gygax. You're like, "Oh, come on. You tricked me. It is the 50th anniversary, you know. Wear your Hawaiian shirt and your fake beard."
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I might get sucked into a D&D game at some point, but there's so
I'm
much
gonna rope you
else to
into
do.
Shadow Dark at some point.
There's what?
I'm gonna rope you into Shadow Dark at some point.
Shadow Dark.
It's like D&D, except you can actually get through a battle sometime within the hour.
See, I appreciate that. I appreciate as a HeroQuest player, definitely I can go through some long games, but I also appreciate the simplicity and the quickness. Um, I
Yeah,
mean,
the idea that
if you're having fun,
D&D
you
that,
don't
that
want it to end.
a boss fight for a relatively high level game, the boss fight can take 3 hours or
Yeah.
more, and it's like,
I mean, I get it.
who's got time for that?
I get it that gaming groups, like 4 hours of messing around, 2 hours of eating, and like, and then 2 hours of actual gameplay. It's like, okay, it happens. Maybe you're just hanging out, you're bonding, you're being friendly, and the game is just, yeah, you just happen to be playing a game. Like, okay, I get that too. But yeah, if you're just wanting to, I think Gen Con will be our opportunity that you've got people that are open to playing games. They'll try it once, you know,
Mhm.
and maybe if people are having fun, they'll stay as long as they can, you know. But I don't think I'm going to be signing up for the 5 hour game. Just
No.
Yeah,
I
I don't think so.
to commit to that, and that's the thing. I with my streams, I've tried to scale it back. Like iKarith remembers the long sessions that we had,
Oh, yeah. We
6 hours.
had five. We had 5 6 hour,
Yeah, yeah,
and it was just 5 or 6 hours. Going through the Gathering Storm quests.
hmm
But I mean, we were screwing around. We were having lots of
extra stuff that we
there was
did.
all the extra stuff that isn't part of the game. But then there was also the
Side conversations,
you know
jokes.
idea of making the game part of the effort to make the game basically something you could play over the internet. That adds
Yeah,
time.
definitely. Yeah,
But
and
I
we were
mean,
testing out different ways to do things. We've kind of gotten it down to a science. I mean, it's still probably
I think so. Yeah.
some people would still probably look at what we do and think, oh, it's too slow, or I would cut out this and do this other thing. Be my guest. Like like you say, rules aren't copyrighted. So if people want to play on Twitch like we do, go for it. You
Yeah.
do it your way. And I mean, yeah, we add extra things to the game. We definitely have our own house rules. We do interact with the chat, so that slows things down because we're waiting for people to respond or reading, or changing things on the fly as people jump in and say, "Oh, there should be more monsters. There should be more potions." Okay, let's do it. I like that as Zargon because I have to adapt constantly to changing situations. It's not just the four heroes now. It's and we've grown from just like two or three people showing up to play to like three and four like heroes.
That's good.
with each controlled by person, that was my dream. It's like that's what I wanted to get to, and it's like we're there, we did it. Yes, so great. Now, if I could just get somebody else to be Zargon occasionally, I mean, I love it to death, but I do like being a hero too. And we have
That's
done it with the app, but as you know, there's limitations to that. A lot of limitations.
all big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though the app has grown a respectable amount since it first started, it's still. I like that you can almost play the European rules with it. I mean, there's enough. There's a couple of quirks, like fallen block traps. You can't walk through them. Like even if you have Pastor Rock, you have to go around them. But you could pretend that you were like disarming it and going through the space like it wasn't really hurting you, as if you were playing under the European rules. I suppose you could do it. Some things wouldn't, still would. They would. The app would still force you to do things a certain way in some cases. But yeah. But yeah, so we've gotten to the point
How do
where
you
we could
disarm a falling block trap after it has been triggered? Well, you get a
very
shovel and
pickaxe, yeah, blasting powder, yeah. Because
oh, there you go.
if you fail to disarm it, you lose one body point, and the trap goes away. See, so yeah, it
Blasting powder. Yeah, there
blasting
you
powder.
go.
It cleared out, but you got caught in the blast. Yeah, so I already have mentally added a house rule for the Against the Ogre Horde remake because there's a few rooms where you can get trapped. You're not dead, you're just trapped. Is just to say in those cases, the European trap rules apply. So someone could come by and try to disarm it for you, the dwarf or anybody with a toolkit. So you don't have to worry about that because I know you could. The booklet basically tells you, well, there's a couple ways you could try to figure it out. Like it's up to your imagination, like how it works. Like either you are trapped forever, or oh, you found some artifact that lets you get out, or oh, there's a secret tunnel, and So basically,
Secret
Zargon's going to be
tunnel.
yeah,
Secret tunnel.
secret tunnel. Yeah, Zargon is going to put a spell scroll of pass through rock in the treasure chest, or yeah, the pit trap is going to have a secret door inside it that leads outward. But I just say, yeah, just let him disarm the trap. Why not? That doesn't mean all traps are that way, but the ones that would seal you in that room, because that
I
sucks.
still have. I still. I still play by the house rule that if the dwarf has the toolkit, he succeeds. He just succeeds.
Just auto disarm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I mean that gives him a reason to actually spend his money on it.
a bonus. Yeah, I came up with something where it was like the toolkit becomes like a repair kit. So
Ah.
it's like he can. So you've got a pit trap. Well, he just nails a board over the top of it. But now he's used it
I
up,
like
so
it.
he'd have to buy another one to do
Uh-huh.
it. But then I thought, well, but he should get a discount, so maybe it's not 250, maybe it's 150 or 100 or something like that. But if he's anticipating, well, how many pit traps are there going to be? Like five, so I should buy five of them before the quest begins. So, yeah. But yeah, you could definitely, yeah, in the European version, you could get rid of pits, you could get rid of fallen blocks. So it's different. In the North American version, it's a permanent hazard and you can be trapped. You can be cut off from the other heroes. They do introduce a lot of ways to pass through rock, but you can't guarantee that your character is going to have it in that situation.
Right. And I mean you can't actually like share your spell if you're a wizard, so
Well, you'd have to have, let's say you're the elf and you have the Elven Cloak of Passage, which can be used 3 times. You pass through the wall, you find your trapped friend, you cast Pass the Rock on him, then you use the cloak again to pass back through the wall, and then he on his turn can pass through the wall. But you'd have to coordinate
that's
all
not
that.
a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You might not have it. It's if you've got a dwarf or somebody with a toolkit.
I mean,
That's the easier way to
if
do
I'm
it.
Zargon, which I often am, and I know that you guys have that stuff, I'm perfectly happy to trap you because I know that you're gonna have to figure it out, and it can be done. You know, it might annoy you for a little bit, but I love seeing a plan come together.
There's just the thing about I mean, I was kind of ragging on the app a bit, and I hate to do that because the guys who work on that app are, they're working hard.
Yeah, and I'm sure they have
But
a limited time and resources to do it.
yeah, but I mean, even if they
Schedule.
had unlimited resources, the biggest thing is you are never going to you are never going to be able to account in an app for players who decide to do some crazy shit that you just could not have anticipated and watch, your best laid plans as Zargon just crumble before your eyes
Oh,
and
I
love
know.
every second of it because it's like the players. I mean, and I think back to, the rescue of Ragnar
Oh
that we
yeah.
did.
Yep.
Uh, we
Classic.
I mowed through a dozen orcs with crossbow and sword
Hmm.
because my dwarf had a crossbow and my barbarian was just
Yep.
he and because we weren't playing these in order,
Yep. I decided to play them out of order
Kurgan Kurgan decided that the moment the alarm hit, two orcs spawned at the stairs,
every turn.
and every round two more would
Yep.
spawn, and it would just keep coming until Ragnar was out. Well, I was rolling like shit because I roll like shit for movement. I can I can always roll a skull for some reason. When I want to hit something, I can always roll a skull. Unfortunately, I also roll skulls when I want to defend.
Well, and I hadn't introduced the wrestling moves yet, where if you roll extra white shields, you can turn it into a free
Yeah,
hit, basically.
yeah,
But
but I mean, it was.
but that was
I was rolling
glorious. It's glorious.
there was just a wall of orcs, and I basically used you know potions and spells to basically give Ragnar the ability to haul ass like four times his movement
And pass through them.
and pass through rock on top of that all in one turn to get him out because there were a dozen orcs in front of us by the time we got there just because my movement rolls were such crap.
Yep.
And you can't really account for that in an app. So
Yeah. Well, we've tried. You can see some of the ones that we played with Sir Death, where we got bonus monsters that people bought, and we were using the
yeah,
app. So we just like someone just searched for treasure and would just say it's a wandering monster. Like I click the button just to generate a
yeah.
monster. I mean, it's fixed. We can't just pick any monster, but it's like okay, well that's one way we can force the app to give us a monster. I wish they let you move monsters around on the board. Right now, the only
Yeah.
monsters you can move are skeletons because you could use the ancient staff to just take control of them, but it's only skeletons, nothing else. So they need like a debug mode. But then you could make your own quest because you could place stuff wherever you wanted. But see, that's what someone could do if they abandoned it and just the code was out there and people could just edit it and hack it and whatever. But I suppose you've got HQuest Builder.
That and HQuest Master.
HQuest Master, yeah, that's the one. HQuest Master lets you actually run the quest in a browser with the symbols. So someday that may be the fan replacement for the app. Um, Maybe it's already there. I haven't used it in a while. Now, at the same
If
time,
it is, it'll
that
get
is
there.
dependent on the webmaster keeping his server going. Like if he ever takes that down, then what do you do? unless
Um,
he releases a
what would be
standalone
my
version.
see? This is the reason why I like open source. As long as somebody cares about open source,
Hmm.
as long as somebody cares about it, they can go and find the code and they can make it work.
Okay.
But I don't. I haven't really. I haven't really looked to see if the
Yeah.
code for that is available or if
I mean,
or
I don't think it
HeroScribe,
is.
HeroScribe is still out there. But I mean, look at HeroQuest Adventures, just a website storing quests people had made. The guy didn't want to
yeah.
do it anymore. People were like, "No," like I'll take it over. I'll take it over. So eventually they got somebody to take it over, and it's still around.
Mm,
I don't think there's been much activity on it, but at least it's not gone from the internet. It's not
yeah.
just
Yeah.
archived. So, yeah.
Um, another of my projects that I need to get back to.
Oh, yes. Yield in. Well, we appreciate the
Yeah.
work you do. So, I just want to comment, and we should wrap up because I know you guys have been great staying awake through this whole thing. Another rant cast. So, the Jungles of Delthrak is so hilarious because they gave us a complete asset list, and still that doesn't tell us enough about how it actually plays in context. So we've gotten these informations, which I think are accurate. There might be some lost in translation, but um, it's connected with Kellar's Keep. There's dwarves. There's new heroes. There's forces cards, which we don't know what those are. There's some type of game sheets, which I'm thinking are going to be like outdoor areas or like arenas or big rooms. Um, there's translucent dice yet again. Um, there's jungles. There's Delthrak, but we don't know. Like we know that there's going to be 16 quests, and there's going to be
Is
like
there
alternate
is there
paths.
gonna be is there gonna be a dwarf in the box, or do we not know that?
There's definitely going to be dwarves in the box. The question is, are there dwarf
I mean, a dwarf,
heroes or just
a
dwarf
dwarf hero.
other characters that are
Yeah,
dwarves?
I'm wondering if there's going to be a dwarf hero in the box.
Because this would be a golden opportunity to have
Yeah,
the female dwarf if they're not going to. I mean, when I asked and Carmine about the dwarf and wizard packs, I mean, his response was kind of what you'd expect, which is that these were never finished, first of all, even though they have all the notes, they could finish them officially. They were never finished, so there's no nostalgia attached to them. So why would they release something like that? And the fact that it wasn't even play tested, similar to the barbarian and elf packs, they'd have to
right,
do all that
right.
work. Why not just create something from scratch that they know is going to be good?
Why would they work on something? Why
Nobody,
would they basically do something that their design team didn't get to design?
yeah, nobody's
Does-
expect
And
the the legacy stuff. It makes
I'm for
sense
that.
because people remember Kellar's Keep, so they want
Yep.
Kellar's Keep. It's good. Okay, they want the Frozen Horror and Mage of the Mirror, but they know that there were problems, against the Ogre Horde. Okay, there's some tweaks needed. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, when they're going to just make something that hardly anybody knows about, first of all,
Yeah, yeah. That
and then
I'm
second,
I
that's going to
agree
need
with
all that
that
extra work.
that logic. I agree with
But
that logic.
people notice that you made two expansions that are focused on the elven homeland and elven characters, and you did a
And the land
barbarian
of the
focused
barbarian.
pack. And okay, wait a minute, there's two other characters, from the main group. There's the wizard and there's a dwarf. Where's the dwarfy pack and where's the wizardy pack? So
Well,
yes, Wizards of
they
Morcar could
could
be that if you wanted it.
they could make Wizards of Morcar have have
Five more quests
the
in there.
alternate, yeah, more quests and add in
Female wizard.
the female wizard.
Yep.
You could do the female dwarf in Delthrak if they're going to do that.
Yeah.
I kind of hope they are because, again, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Hasbro long term because they
You hope they
are,
made it count.
I'm expecting the Cybertron Wars are just around the corner. So
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, I have a feeling as well. The more time goes by, the more opportunities for it to get screwed up. I mean,
exactly,
we've got a good thing going now,
and
and
I mean, like
the rest of the
people like
year,
Doug and Patrick might be, very strongly saying, "Hey, we need to not screw this up,"
yeah, and they may
and
be their
they
bosses at
might
Hasbro may
do
be
it.
giving them the freedom and resources they need to do it right.
Yep, yep.
But how do we know that they're
Ultimately,
not going to step in
they're
at some point
employees.
and yeah, they've got to
Yeah,
they can't go against the company, or they got to
yeah,
leave and
not,
do their own thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
that's the thing. We
I've always
hope
said
that
this.
it will be good.
Yeah, I've always said this. I don't. If something is going wrong in the world of HeroQuest, I'm not blaming the Avalon Hill guys. I'm blaming the higher
Nope.
ups because
Yep,
these guys seem to know what they're doing. They seem to genuinely want to
totally.
do what's best for the fans and what's best for the franchise. You know.
They themselves are fans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're real fans.
that's
Right.
that's the
Whereas
thing. So
company, I mean,
it,
people who say, well, corporations will never do anything that will jeopardize their profit. We've seen company after company make blunder after blunder and lose millions, maybe
they
even
will never
billions of dollars.
intentionally
Yeah.
do.
Maybe they'll make
But
money in the short term, or maybe individuals will make money.
but
But
if they
yeah,
think they can cross pollinate their brands, they will.
yeah. So
If we got people like Doug and Patrick going, "Are you crazy? This is a fantasy world. This world has lore. If you introduce Transformers, you're going to lose all of those customers."
yep.
If you got those people and their bosses are listening, we don't have anything to worry about.
Friends don't let
I,
friends cross Transformers and HeroQuest in that
yeah,
way.
but as you said, the further we get away from a time when we knew that the people running it were
Yeah.
people who cared about the franchise.
Well, and I'm not saying the
Because I mean, we,
people.
we don't know who's running it. We don't
Yeah, right,
know.
right. Yeah, we're not saying Doug and Patrick and whoever else is left don't love the franchise, but yeah, who's calling the shots now? Do they
Yeah,
have
we
that
don't know.
same level of commitment or not?
And I mean, we didn't talk about it before, and probably we don't want to get too far down that road now.
Another
Um,
rant cast.
after Baldur's Gate 3, which was massively successful because it was a good game. I mean, they definitely delivered it with a whole bunch of unnecessary controversy for the sake of controversy, in my opinion.
Happens
But
a
I
lot.
mean, they knew what they were doing.
Wizards
They
of the
knew that they were
Coast.
going to try. Yeah, they knew they were going to try to market this thing with. Let's see if we can, piss off some of the same people who were, you know, being pissed off by the Satanic Panic. Let's introduce a gay relationship, and you can actually have fade to black sex, gay sex with a bear, and yeah, that the controversy over that non-controversy really, you have to go pretty far out of your way to find that. You've got to really go looking for it. But they put it in there, and they put it in there to see who would be pissed off about it, so they could laugh at them.
Yeah,
That's not going in. That's not.
I
If
just
I, if
rather
I play
see
this game,
I just rather see a good game. I mean, why can't we
yeah.
have that?
Well, and that's the thing. It was a good game. It was a
Yeah.
very good game,
Yeah,
despite
I didn't know
what
about
you
that.
might think about
I don't
that. No, it
I
was.
don't think I follow. I mean, I watched StrangeBus play Baldur's Gate 3 on his stream, and it looked pretty good. But like I said,
It is a good game.
I'm not a hardcore D&D guy. I mean, that type of game. I've played some similar games, but I mean, I'm much more of like a Gauntlet Legends kind of guy than a like
But
a
that game has been
Baldur's Gate
massively successful.
player.
Uh, Monopoly Go. another video game, massively successful.
So where's our HeroQuest
Monopoly
video
Go
game?
has been much more successful than the Monopoly board game has been in recent years.
Didn't I hear there was going to be a Golden Axe TV show?
I didn't hear that one.
There've been some
But
weird.
you've also got
Oh, and
Magic Arena.
they're making another Lord of the Rings movie about Gollum.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw that.
We'll see. We'll
so
see.
plenty of franchises to ruin out there, and
Sure.
have bizarre
But
ideas.
my point is that if Hasbro is seeing all of these video game franchises where they've taken existing franchises and turned them digital, all digital,
Hmm.
and
They can
the all
control it.
digital versions of these franchises are far more successful than the actual physical products. Oh, and you don't have to worry about, retailers, you don't have to worry about warehouses, shipping. The product can be ready today and up on a store tomorrow. So
Microtransactions.
there's no delays. And you've got literally the entire C-suite at Hasbro is now former Microsoft and Zynga executives.
Not to be confused with Buzzinga.
Nope, this is mobile trash we're talking.
Yikes.
Uh, the sort of stuff that gets advertised with pull the pin to rescue this person, and of course the games don't actually contain any of that. The ads are actually just straight up lying to you.
Wow.
This is the kind of company that Zynga is. They produce
Yeah.
actually,
Okay.
Zynga produces nothing. They buy stuff that is okay, and then they chalk it full of
Shovelware.
monetization
Yeah.
and turn it into just mobile trash. Well, that's who's running Hasbro now.
So
People who do that for
don't give up the
Zynga
fight.
and Microsoft.
Don't give up the fight is what we're saying, because yes, nobody likes to hear negativity, and we've got a good thing going, but that
This
could
is the
change.
RantCast.
That could
Negativity is
change.
what we do.
That could change anytime. It's negativity with a purpose. Our good
Yeah.
time could change on a dime if they decide that they can get away with that. And if
Right.
we let them
So
get
we
away
need
with
to make sure that make sure that they know we're not interested in
Yeah.
a mobile game.
Don't be
We're not interested in a PC game that is run like a mobile
don't be a
game.
whale. Don't be the type of fanboy who will buy anything just because it's part of a franchise. Because
Yeah.
if you do, you're just encouraging that kind of abuse of
Now,
an IP.
if they continue making the stuff like they have been, and will be for the next at least 1 year,
Hmm.
I'm in line to buy that.
I mean,
Because
I don't want a HeroQuest video game, but if they had a HeroQuest video game that was good, that wasn't, taking
yeah,
the place of the physical game, sure,
if
I'd
they
support it.
had a video game that was good, and it was not a replacement for the board game.
Yeah.
I mean, the original HeroQuest video game was trying to be the board game on a computer. It was weird.
Yeah.
But
I've got the PC
it
game.
had great music. It had great music.
Yep.
But if you can actually produce, a game with the hero, if they had the reason, if they had the reason to do it,
Oh,
if they wanted to produce a board game from
hey,
HeroQuest lore,
yeah, I know we gotta wrap up, but there is somebody on Yield In who is reverse engineering the PC game of HeroQuest.
Cool.
But it sounds like he's at a very early stage. So he's figured out all these things, like you can have death saves from potions, and you can trade items, and you can sell stuff back. It's like, what? Like, and it's like, okay, he's doing all this in the code, and I don't know, there's tubes and magic and electrons involved. So I don't know how he's doing it, but hey, that's a cool project. Even though, why couldn't you just make your own game? But it's like, oh, okay, well, you've got the PC game that people remember, and make some tweaks to it, changes to it. I hope he documents how he did it all so that other people could come in and make their own, because
Oh,
everybody's going to have a different idea of how it would be better.
I hope I hope he actually posts the patches for what he did and the source code for the patches.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you are a fan, I'm a retro game fan. Sorry, yet another topic. I am a fan of old games like the original Final Fantasy and the original Dragon Warrior. There are randomizers that just take the game and just scramble stuff around, but the randomizers have basically ways that you can play the original games from the 80s with fixes. So the Weir sword actually is better to use against werewolves and were-tigers, and that's a bug. It doesn't work in the game. Half the spells are bugged. They don't work. Well, they fixed it. You can set it up so you can play the game and you don't spend hours upon hours just grinding for levels. That's the problem with the original
I
Dragon
love
Warrior.
anti-grinding patches. ROM hacking is a site that I love. Like lots of games that I own are on there.
RomHacking.net.
Yep.
But also, like I said, for Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior, the randomizers, you basically take the ROM, which I'm going to assume that you acquired legally for legal reasons.
Of course.
And it does help that I know how to do that. But
not a big deal.
You feed the ROM into a program, and because you feed the ROM in, that proves that you've got it, and it generates a patched version of the ROM.
Love it.
That has bugs fixed, so you can play it, or you scramble it so that you walk into the first castle, and what you get is the third floor of the volcano inside the castle, and there will be stairs in there that go down to, I don't know, it could be Elf Town.
Or it could be Goblin Town. Down to Goblin Town.
But anyway, so yeah, it hacking these games is fun, and what's cool about those is those are open source. So if the people who wrote them stop, somebody else can pick it up.
Somebody made Double Dragon for the NES, a 2-player game.
Cool.
And man,
cool.
Double Dragon for the NES sucks. But someone made it 2-player.
Double Dragon 2.
So
Double Dragon 2 is the good one.
Yeah, I still skip the puzzles though. I hate those puzzles. They suck. Yeah, I'm an arcade fan, but I get it. People are still nostalgic for those games, and it's like a lot of those things that annoyed you back in the day, those AVGN type moments have been fixed. People have fixed them. And people have, like, so many of those arcade ports, people have recolored they've adjusted the palettes and made the games look better. Some games that had like black borders around the screen, they've like gotten rid of the black borders so you can see more detail. You can see more of the map.
And then Nintendo comes and shuts them down.
Yeah. But like Zombies Ate My Neighbors on the Genesis, for example. That one, you had the HUD took up way too much room on the screen. And so like the Super Nintendo version didn't have that. So the Genesis version, they like cut it out. So now you can see and it improves the balance of the game, because now you can see a greater distance, so you can tell when the zombies are coming at you. They don't just like appear in your face and like kill you immediately. So I love it.
Yeah, and it was the reason why that extra HUD was there on the Genesis version was because the developers kind of had a time crunch. They couldn't make the game fast enough to have it do what they wanted to do. In a single frame. They didn't have the cycles to do it, and they didn't have the time to optimize the code. Maybe they didn't have the skill, but probably they didn't have the time.
That makes sense.
So
because it still runs just as well either way.
Yeah.
Now I know some of these they have.
The thing. You've got people who are like the people who hack these things are like gods of these old processors.
And they've got
So you have some people who were like
patience,
Amiga fans back
time.
in the day,
Yeah.
and they've got tons of time. They're doing it for fun. Yeah, I can optimize a Genesis game. I was an Amiga developer.
Yep.
And so they do what they could not do at the time.
Or Ghostbusters on the Genesis, a game which I love. Someone added Winston in there, so now you've got and Lewis
Nice.
and Janine. So like you've got more of the cast instead of
Nice.
just the three Ghostbusters. So it's like, hey, sweet.
Somebody should make Ghostbusters on the NES good,
That would
because
be a
it's not.
challenge. That'd be a challenge.
It would be. It would
Yeah.
be. It was
Well,
terrible. It
it,
was a terrible port.
and some of the more popular games, yeah, you've got so many hacks. It's hard to know where to start. So like the Mario games on the NES or Streets of Rage, like any character you could think of from any other game, you can be in Streets of Rage. Or the Sonic games have so
Yeah.
many mods because some people just make new levels and other people like they disagree on how the game is improved, so some people will change this thing, other people change this other thing.
One thing for ROM hacking on Genesis Sonic game, and then I've got to go too. So
All right, we got an
there
ending.
is a hack for Sonic the Hedgehog where every time it changes the rings into onion rings, and as Sonic
Yes.
eats them, he slows down and he gets
Oh,
fat.
yes, I've seen this. Okay, I was gonna say like that's
He's
how.
got to run he's got to run,
Lord.
which works off those rings.
Yeah, that's
He's
brilliant.
got to exercise, because if he's eating so many onion rings, he needs to exercise to use those
Burn that
calories,
fat.
or they
Yeah.
become fat. Yep.
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 See, that's
Anyway,
creative. Some of the earliest hacks, I mean, all they would do is just like put as much like offensive stuff into the game as they could. But yet, those people were learning. They're learning how to replace graphics. They were learning how to edit, tables. They were learning how to,
there
change values. And so
there is a Super
all
Mario
these,
Brothers hack that plays like the indie game Celeste.
which I don't know about.
Look up Celeste. It's really it is it is
Special.
a game that is about basically challenging yourself.
It's about anxiety and depression.
There's a bit of that.
Oh, that's
I
just
mean,
how Wikipedia is talking about it.
the game is basically about there is a character, a little girl, trying to climb a mountain.
Hmm.
And the first person she meets along the way is an old woman who laughs at her. You'll never make it. And what's cool about the game is it's one of the few games that actually, builds in disability accessibility. That's part of the game, which is how I know about the game and why I care about the game.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't necessarily, not everything in the game is how I would have done it, but I mean, the point is the game starts out fair but hard. But it's hard in a way that you can practice it and get good. But then the game gets absolutely, at some point, if you want it to, you can go back and play a harder version of the game where it gets insane.
This reminds me of a lot of like older games like Arctic Explorer and Pyramids.
Yeah.
It's that
Except
PC
this game is
platformer
a
where
lot better.
practice makes perfect.
Yeah. But it's a lot better. It was actually built for originally for something called the Pico 8, which is it's like a retro console, but it is a retro console simulator for a console that didn't actually exist. It had a bunch of limitations on purpose. Like you have a palette of 64 colors because when you only have 64 colors, you have to think, how am I going to use them? When you only have
Working
like
within limitations,
one or two types of bleeps, you're gonna have to think, how do I make the kind of music and sound effects that I want?
It's an interesting challenge.
Yeah, working with the limitations.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Good stuff.
I've said enough. I've got to run.
All right.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
RantCast.
Yup.
RantCast.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. That's what we like to hear. All right. Well, thanks for everybody for joining us. Yeah, we had an extra long, extra special episode of the RantCast. And hey, if you guys are available future Thursdays, we could always do it
Sure.
again.
Yeah.
Yep. And we
Have a
will
good night,
see.
everybody.
Take care. Yep. And we'll see in about a week if our predictions were correct or if we were completely wrong. And you can tell us how wrong we were on YouTube
Nice.
and on Discord. All right. Well, we'll get Karl Casey at White Bat Audio on YouTube to play us out. And we'll catch you next time. So the plan is we will be doing Mage of the Mirror tomorrow, and I believe we will still be able to do our usual Saturday this week. Next week, there's a chance that Saturday might be interrupted, but I think I got a family event. I think it'll be over in time to do our regularly scheduled stream, but I'll keep you guys updated if any of that changes for HeroQuest fans.
Sounds good.
Yep. All right, let's get Karl Casey back in here
All right.
somewhere.
Talk to you later.
All right, good night. RantCast.